Hey everyone, you're watching the Ash and Bats show. I am Ash.
And I'm Bats.
What's going on, Bats? Are we dead again with audio?
Sorry. That was my bad. Like
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, none of a professionalism. I was hearing the show as we were saying it, and I was like, "Oh shit!" Is because I didn't mute the video, so I was in the chat. So yeah, we're live, and we already screwed up.
Hey, it wouldn't be an Ash and Bats show if we didn't screw up. Hey, audience, good to see everyone here. Please type F in the chat if you can hear audio.
Press F if you respect the sound. Can't hear. Alyssa says she can't hear.
Well, we got audio according to OBS. So I know actually we do have audio because I was hearing it through my iPad, which I watched simultaneously.
Yeah, I was just hearing it too. Yeah, so
our audience just probably fell asleep on us because we took forever to get the show started. I apologize, people, friends. It wouldn't be us if we didn't have technical difficulties. And right before the show started, we're about to launch, and everything crapped out on my end, so I had to reboot my PC. And to get OBS and everything back up, it's about a 15-minute process. So
yep,
sucks. And it's like we start about 9:30, right? Every Wednesday with like 9:30, we're like, okay, we're gonna be professional. We're gonna be early. And then everything's working. We're prepping. It's like ready to go live, and it's just like the fucking Millennium Falcon.
You did that really, really well.
Oh, thanks, man.
That's a good like that. I saw the scene in my head.
It's not my fault.
Let's see. Melissa Harris says Anime Gate hashtag I stand with Vic. Also fire Monica and get Tiffany back as Bulma.
Oh,
well,
I don't know any of these people. I'm not a big anime person.
Well, it's not just so much anime; it's Dragon Ball.
Oh,
yeah,
a whole subgenre unto itself.
Yes, yeah.
Hey everyone.
I mean,
go ahead.
If anything was going to start off a shitstorm in anime, it's going to be the most popular anime of all time, Dragon Ball.
Is it the most popular anime of all time?
According to Toonami and their commercials back in 2003.
I would have to wonder if Pokemon might not be.
I mean, it is like shows in Japan go on forever. Like One Piece is like getting up to the 1,000.
Yeah, speaking of that, I just started. Well, I don't want to say I started it. I just tried One Piece last night. I was sitting around bored doing nothing, and I was like, I want to put on something light that I can. If I don't pay too much attention to it, I'm not going to care. And I searched around. I was like, this is One Piece. I heard a lot of it's a popular show. That seems really light and airy. And I watched one episode, and I was like, nope.
Yeah, it's a never-ending shonen series.
Yeah, it was annoying. I was like wondering, I was like, man, is this going to be like a Pokemon-like show? And sure enough, I started.
No,
like,
absolutely not.
Oh, it totally felt like a Pokemon to me.
No, it's
not Pokemon in like it's the what the show is about. I mean, in its formulaic, like its characters and the way it approaches humor, it does the same type of thing that Pokemon tries to do for its audience with a different type of story. That's what I mean.
Yeah, like I've seen the first, I'd say 30 episodes, but it pretty much like it starts to really pick up around like 12. Oh. And it becomes, it's like one of those shows.
I see.
Like the same with like Naruto and most shonen shows in general.
Well, I'll tell you what, since we're on the topic of anime right now, a show that didn't take a while to pick up and a show that I am watching, and the reason this whole thing started where I was like, I want to watch something, because I started watching Fairy Tail. Have you watched this anime?
I've wanted to, but then I didn't realize it had almost 300 episodes, and I was like, oh, I'm okay.
Yeah, you can't even get up to episode 50 of My Hero Academia.
Yeah, exactly. It's like if I'm gonna Like, I'd rather just start a new show and not finish it.
That's terrible.
It is terrible.
That's super terrible. So
That's how I watch television.
Dragon Ball. Fairy Tail actually kind of reminds me a little bit of My Hero Academia. It's kind of like in the middle of Pokemon and My Hero Academia. It falls because it has a little bit of what I like about My Hero Academia, where it's got these characters and they're essentially superheroes, right? They're in the show they're wizards, but they each have their own powers that are like unique to them, and the only reason you know that they're wizards is because the show says they're wizards. But essentially, it's just powers. And like one kid is like a total fire guy. The other kid's like all ice. One girl can like summon all these different spirits and stuff. But anyways, so it's very much like every wizard in the show is this unique being with unique powers, and everyone kind of knows who like other people are, and they'll be like, "Oh, that's like the top mage of So there's like this ranking system which seems to be real popular. In shows like this. So it kind of reminds me of that, except the characters they're not like total newbies. It's like My Hero Academia if like you picked up the show like they had already graduated from school.
Okay.
So they're a little bit more like kick-ass. But it also reminds me of Pokemon. When I say it falls in the middle of like that, because it's also much lighter in its like storytelling, and it's fair. It's like, in this episode, the characters are traveled all the way across this part of the land, and they find themselves in this adventure. Like how Pokemon kind of does that, where they're like, oh,
yeah, no, yeah, absolutely.
And it's like, whereas My Hero Academia is one big long saga of Deku and his friends. Like, this show is more like the adventures of these four characters, and there'll be a little short story arc, and then, oh, now they're over here and they're meeting this person, and it's very just whimsical. And so it's not quite as childish as Pokemon, and that's why I say it kind of falls in the middle, but it is lighthearted fare.
Yeah, I'm really into the genre that is called shonen.
Well, this is shonen.
Yeah. So, and I did a YouTube like top 10 shonen shows, and they kind of like they're like, all right, okay, everyone loves Dragon Ball, Bleach,
I gotta watch that show.
Which one?
Your show you did top 10, because I've been looking for shows, and I'm like, I wonder what I should watch, because I like anime, but I'm very snobby, kind of like, like I only want good anime, and it's like nine times out of 10, I'm just like,
Do you have a means to watch anime?
Well, I have Funimation account.
Okay, cool. So I highly recommend SSSS Gridman.
Okay, I'll look for that. I saw there's another one that was like Gaius or something.
I don't know. I don't watch
Gaius.
No, it's S 4 times Gridman.
All right. Is that the one that you were watching with the big robots and I was giving you shit?
Yes.
All right, I was going to ask you about that, so now
okay, so you kind of mentioned that you're anime snob, so I would take it you watched, because every anime snob watches this, Evangelion Neon Genesis.
Actually, no. That's
okay.
I need to watch that, and that's one of those things that's been on my radar, but you can't just find it anywhere. And I'm like, oh man.
Okay, so Eon, whatever the hell, Neon Genesis Evangelion. Yeah, I will never, ever in my life watch that show again.
All right, I've heard that. I've heard some people are just like,
yeah, it is intended to get you really into the characters and then depress the living hell out of you, where you're just like, and then, but the main character is completely intolerable. You just like, stop it, stop, relax, bro. You have a giant robot. Your life isn't that bad. You have a giant robot. Stop complaining about your life. You have a giant robot, bro. Like, and then there's like all the worst things that could happen. And it's like the show is intended from my perspective, it's intended to stress you out and give you depression. If you didn't have depression, you do after watching
Wow.
Neon Genesis.
Well, it's one of those shows that it seems to be everyone that's like the most lauded anime of all time. But I just haven't seen it, and either people just go, "That's by far away the best anime ever," or people will be like what you just said, like
Yeah,
I wanted to shoot myself after I watched that, and I was like, "Whoa, okay."
it's kind of like it's similar to the joke that I make. It says, "Oh yeah, when I want to wallow in my depression, I just read Watchmen."
Oh, jeez. Well,
Like it's
when I'm in the mood for it, I can definitely handle some dark stuff.
well,
So,
the,
and I do want to see it. I don't want to.
well, why I bring it up is because Gridman is Neon Genesis minus Neurosis. It's like it's built around a mystery with giant monsters
Well, the problem is I
and
haven't
rope.
seen Neon Genesis, so
Okay,
you're going like it's like this, but like this thing you
minus
haven't.
Neurosis.
It's like this thing that you don't know about, minus this other part you don't know. Like
Like
the
okay,
comparison doesn't make sense to me.
here's a comparison that makes sense. Neon Genesis is Tom King Batman, while Gridman is Tomasi's detective.
Oh, that's. See now you put expectations on it that I think you set it up for a fall.
No,
I'm worried about
no,
that.
it's really good. It's like I had expectations on it to be something else, and I was like, ooh, like.
All right. Well,
But
I do want to check it out because I saw your clips in something else I was watching. I don't know, you showed me something, and I was like, oh, that looks
it
pretty
was in
cool.
Twitter. It was Twitter. Me and you
Um,
back and forth on Twitter.
so I do want to check that out. I don't want to talk about Neon Genesis Evangelion all day. I did want to just say what was on my mind about anime since we were on that topic. Some people in the chat are talking about I need to try Wolf's Rain, Lupin the Third, Sailor Moon.
Ooh, yeah,
I've already tried the
those are
first two. I've actually tried all three. Sailor Moon. Excuse me. That's about all I have to say about Sailor Moon. Also,
oh my gosh.
giant monsters in Attack on Titan. Attack on Titan is disturbing, but it does. I have watched the first few episodes, and it is pretty awesome. I do
Astro
intend to watch
Boy.
some more of that. I started watching Attack on Titan when it was on Netflix, and it was just in dubbed format.
Mhm.
And it was intense. Like I watched like the first two episodes, and I was like, "Oh God, this is really freaking good." But I find myself a lot of times watching TV and stuff, especially like anime, when I'm working on the computer doing other things, and like I'm not necessarily against watching subtitle stuff, but like it really has to have my focus, because you're reading. It's like you really have to focus on it. And unlike a movie where I can sit down, watch it 2 hours, be done, like a big long. So it prevented me from getting into the series. And then just recently on Funimation, I was like, oh, they have it in English. So I sat down with my buddy. I was like, hey, you should check out this, because he was looking for something to watch. Like, let's check out this show. I saw it. It was really good. And I watched it in English, and it was like still really good, but the English dub didn't bring the freaking drama that the original Japanese did. So now I'm torn. I have watched Ninja Scroll Tehillim. So Wolf's Rain, I've watched the first like 6 episodes because I got it back in the day when you had to just buy anime still, and they sold it in like separate DVDs. So I had like the first volume, so you had to like pay like $25 for a portion. You couldn't just buy like whole seasons. And I just never ended up getting the rest for whatever reason. Lupin the Third is like one of the original animes that got me into anime back in the day. My boy, Miyazaki, who's like the grandmaster of anime, did his first movie was Lupin the Third, Castle Cagliostro. That was one of the things that got me in.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, so I'm not a huge Lupin fan. He's kind of hit or miss because he's had like so many different companies do him. So yeah, it's for people that's out there listening. If you want to know kind of my taste, like my favorite anime of all time, and Bats, if you haven't seen this, you need to.
Okay.
Giant Robo.
Yeah, that sounds like generic Japanese hero.
Okay. Do you know Johnny Sacco?
I do not know.
Oh, dude.
When it
You
comes to anime, for me,
no. Johnny Sacco's not anime. It's what's that term that you introduced me? The we were talking about the other night about giant. When we were talking about
tokusatsu.
it's tokusatsu.
Okay.
It's called Johnny Sacco and his giant robot.
Okay.
It's like an old '60s black and white. It's like Ultraman style thing, but it's this little boy
Okay.
finds a robot. He can control it. I love it, but it's cheeseball as hell. Anyways, back in the 90s, this company got a hold of the rights to do it and turn it into an anime series. And they did it. They took it and made it all serious. And it is it is my favorite non-film, non-movie. It's an OAV series. It's like 4 OAVs.
Okay.
Phenomenal. It's so good.
Melissa Harris dropped one of my favorites in the chat. Big O.
Big O.
You've ever seen that?
Yeah, I have. And this is like Big O on steroid. I don't know. Big O's okay.
Well, what I like about Big O, it's Batman meets tokusatsu.
Yeah.
So it's just like sweet. It's like two things I like.
Giant Robo is like Justice League meets tokusatsu.
I've been hearing nothing but good things about this JoJo stuff. JoJo Adventure.
Yeah, I don't know. There's a ton of stuff. And I don't like the anime that is like more childish. I really generally stay away from like shonen stuff. Generally, there's a few, like obviously I like My Hero Academia. But anyways, just for the audience, just to know, if you're making recommendations for me, if you know Giant Robo, that's my favorite. Miyazaki for movies, there's none better. I love Miyazaki. For shows, I liked Cowboy Bebop. I liked Samurai Champloo even better, the director's second outing. Samurai Champloo is phenomenal. The first half of it, at least, where that director did before he left.
I mean, yeah, when you integrate like hip hop to feudal Japan and like kung fu movies,
yeah,
I mean, it worked for Wu-Tang Clan, so
I love Samurai. So that what I've seen of Wolf Train, I really like. I do tend to like the more serious stuff. My Hero Academia, I am blown away by, because, like I said, I normally don't like Shonen Jump stuff. I find it too childish and too that normal thing that it makes shonen, and it's just not me. But for whatever reason, MHA transcends it. Fairy Tail,
look at you, all fanboy. Use initials instead of.
I'm just trying to speed through this because I'm blabbering. So yeah, Astro Boy is a little too old. Digimon's too childish.
There's a remake Astro Boy that I think he's talking about, because it was on Toonami and it was really good. It's from like 2000 something.
Right on. So Inuyasha, not my style.
Yeah, it's very girly. I can't watch Inuyasha.
Naruto, Pokemon.
My big qualm with My Hero Academia originally was, it's just Naruto with the X-Men. And then I came back and watched it in English, and I appreciated it much more, because I didn't have to like sit there and read subtitles. I could kind of watch it more mindlessly.
I think My Hero Academia, unlike what I was saying with Titan, I think My Hero Academia works better in English.
Yeah, some shows do.
I think My Hero Academia is too Japanese. When you watch it, the Japanese, but when it's the English, they like add. It feels a little bit more universal, and I think that's what the story was trying to go for, is not be like, these are Japanese heroes. They're like, these are worldly heroes. I mean, you look at All Might is an American guy, like.
He's actually Japanese. I just seen a clip from the upcoming movie, or it's out, or
but the live action stuff's always going to be all Japanese. But
no, it's not live action. It's a movie. It's
oh,
It's like it's the first My Hero Academia movie.
Oh, you know they're doing a live action movie too.
Oh well,
I've seen the movie poster for it, and of course, it's all Japanese actors.
Well, they it was funny. Like they kind of screwed this up, but I'm like, they're superpowers, whatever. It said California, USA, and it was like a shot of the Vegas Strip, and I was like, okay. and then and then uh and then so then like a villain shows up, and then the American heroes can't stop him, and then here comes All Might, and he's like, who are you? He's like, I am a hero from Japan. Like they're like, what are you doing here? He's like, saving the day, something.
All right. Well, I don't know. I don't know. He's at least he's a white guy. That much is so. And he did. If you haven't got that far in the show. Spoiler alert: All Might used to be a hero in America. So
that makes sense.
I'm at a part where, the part where I'm done with the thing, but I think I remember, where I'm at, where the show leaves off, is that Deku's gotta travel to the U.S. But be that as it may, we don't need to talk about that. We're actually already like way over talking about anime, and I'm sure everyone didn't tune in to listen to us talk about anime all day. Today's episode is about
brought to you by the letter A.
It's centered around the book Birthright. As you guys know, I'll just give you a little heads up. Birthright. Every week we're picking a book to read. We'll do like a little book club, and it's based on ComiXology Unlimited choices. That's our pool of books to choose. Every week we pick a book. This last week was my turn. I picked Birthright because it's a book that's kind of been on my radar, and I talked to Bats, and he's not really a big fantasy person, although he reads Red Sonja, and I was like, let me see if give him a little bit of a different look into fantasy besides Red Sonja and see what he thinks. And I think this is going to be probably a good book based on everything I've heard about it, but I haven't read it myself, so I'm curious, so it seemed like a win-win. And so I picked the book, and that was this week's. Anyone that read the book, type 1 in the chat, and we'll know to address you to talk to you about the book. But Bats, what's your initial thoughts about that?
All right, so yeah, like you said, I'm not a high fantasy. I'm such a snob that I call it high fantasy in general. I'm not a high fantasy. I've never been into it, never. I always thought it was dumb, and it just doesn't work in my brain, where I'm like, oh, they're just in a faraway land where there's no technology, and they live in castles, and there's dragons and potions and wizards. This is just silly. Like, it's never worked for me.
Now I know how you feel when I'm talking about how things in DC Comics didn't work for me.
Oh, well, I'm not gonna.
I relate to you now, brother.
I'm just gonna leave that alone.
Okay, so, keep going. Sorry, I didn't mean to derail. Keep going.
And so when you pick this book, I remember being like, oh no, because just looking at the cover, which is on the screen right now, I see like castles and a dragon man, or I think that's what does the thing called? A griffin? Where it's like got lion's feet and tail, and I don't know. See, I don't know. It's like
it's either a griffin or a hippogriff. I always get the two mixed up.
Okay, well, yeah, who knows? I don't know any of this crap.
Or that could just be some made up thing. I don't think either one of those have bat wings. Could be a manticore. I don't know. It's a monster.
Yeah, someone's played D&D in their life. So when I saw this cover, I was like, oh no, it's gonna be the first book that it's just not gonna do it for me. And then I saw a silver lining in the description. It was written by Joshua Williamson, who has won me over as a comic book fan, as a good writer, but I've only read his Flash. And so I was like, his Flash run is really good. So this could be good based on just I like this guy's writing style. So, but then I was like, let's just look at this castle, and there's this guy and a sword, and then so the last all the books before this one I had read Wednesday afternoon. So like I had to like, oh crap, I gotta read Exo Man of War, I gotta read Robin, I gotta read Bloodshot. And so I would read them, like I crushed through them. And so I thought this one was gonna be a drag. So I decided to just like read it Thursday or or Friday. I think it was Friday. And so I went to go sit down and read this on Friday night. And I read it all in one sitting and was like, oh, should I read volume 2? But what I really appreciated about this book was I felt like it was almost written for people like me who likes comic books set in the real world kind of tone with the fantasy elements, where people have powers and can do all these amazing things, but it's set in a more realistic world, not like kingdoms of whatever, the five lands and kings and like Game of Thrones style. Just never been my thing. and so the idea that this book is about a kid who gets lost in the woods, and I guess he goes through a portal that's not fully explained in the first book, and he ends up in like a fantasy world, a high fantasy world, and then he turned, as story tropes go, he turns out to be the chosen one. And I was like, okay, so it's this kind of story. Yeah, like when I first saw this, I was like, oh no, this is gonna, oh no. And then we're gonna get a map of the world, and like I had a friend who would always read fantasy books, and he would read those, like, was it R.L. Silvestri or R.S.
R.A. Salvatore.
That's him. He would read those like $1,000 or 1,000-page mass market ones, and I was just like, how do you read these in like a week? And he's like, because they're good. And I'm like, I don't know. And I like just look at it, and it's like read like a page, and I'm like, oh no. And then I see like a map in the back, and I'm like, oh, this is so stupid. And so I just was like, oh, it's just gonna be one of those on, in comic book form. But the big twist in this was the kid coming back to the real world, having fantasy world for what, 20 years or so, and he's got a mission now on Earth to stop these 5 evil wizards or whatever. And I was like, oh, okay, this is way more interesting now, because now we're keep coming back to the real world and then doing the flashbacks of him as a kid, and that really worked for me. I just thought that was a really cool way to tell the story. So,
I'll just interject here. I was just before we give you talk about too much about the book here, I was just looking for your beginning thoughts on it. I'd like to echo some of what you were saying. My approach to the book was a little bit different. I'm a huge fantasy person. Not the way like your roommate is or whoever you're talking about. I actually don't like R.A. Salvatore. I think he's a bad writer. I like my fantasy, but I'm also a big snob about it. So yeah, like D&D is silly to me. And I got in an argument with Quirks. You were there. I was talking about how Tolkien was overrated writer.
Oh yeah, that's when I was like, oh yeah, I'm tired anyway. I'm dipping out. I'm going to bed.
I'm out of here. So I do like fantasy. Now, I tend to never like it in comic book form, however. For whatever reason, comic books, the medium of comics, never serve it right. So I tend to avoid fantasy in comics. In the movies or in book form, it's great. Well, it can be great in the movies. It's not always great in the movies. In book form is usually my primary way. So I'm always apprehensive about doing a fantasy. This is why I didn't get Birthright before. I was like, it looks really cool. But so this, I was like, well, we're doing this thing. Let's take a chance on this book. Like, it'll force us to read it. And yeah, I was blown away kind of by the originality of how this story, which seems to be very cliche at first, is essentially turned on its heels. You know, like it's turned on its head, I guess is the right term. So I'm going to bring this up here and kind of try to quickly more go over it, not spend as long as we have in the past on books. Let's see about putting that there.
Yeah, like I was saying, the silver lining was Joshua Williamson. And I always liked, I've always been the DC fan in me. That's how I always discover writers. I'm like, oh, this guy came to the book I already read, right? And if I like that writer, I kind of give them a chance on their creator-owned stuff more. It's like, hey, this guy was really good on Batman. What else has he done? Oh, he's like, does a horror writing? Oh yeah. I'll check out this American Vampire stuff. Like.
Right. So, as you mentioned, Joshua Williams. I didn't see. I'm not a big no. I don't really know who Joshua Williamson is. Like, I know he writes the Flash.
Yeah, that's all I know too.
Yes, but you're a Flash fan.
Okay.
My point is, I don't read Flash, so I don't go, oh yeah, Joshua. Now I really want to read more Flash because of this book. So here's the credits for everyone that's watching. You can see Joshua Williamson is the creator and the writer. Art by Andre Bresson. Colored by Adriano Lucas. And if you care who lettered it, it's Pat Brousseau. And no one gives a shit about the editors. All right, so I'm going to try to summarize this book real quick, and we'll get through it, talk about it. Starts off with a dad playing catch with his boy. And kind of one of the reasons I was turned on to this book was I really love Tomasi. I mean, we talk about this into the ground about Tomasi's run with Superman and Little John. And I just love the whimsical nature of a father and son at that prepubescent age when there's like just innocence and everything. There's just something magical about that, I think. And so I was kind of turned on. I was like remembering that when I saw this, and I was like, oh, I hope that this book evokes the same thing. And here we open up with the father and son. They're playing, and it turned out it's the kid's birthday, and he's just sort of occupying him while they set up the birthday, and he's talking to his wife, and he's like, okay, well, we're about ready, so bring him home. And they're like, all right. And he like throws the ball into the woods, and he's like, gets off he was talking on the phone, and he's going to fetch his son, like, okay, cool, because the son hasn't come back yet, and his son's not there. And this, I don't know about you, Bats, but this immediately gripped me. I was like, oh fuck, this book starts off in a really serious tone. It's like really joyful at first, like, oh hey dad, throw the ball, and he's like, oh, and then like he's talking, okay, come to the birthday, and the next thing it's just like, Mike, where are you? And he's like finds the ball, and the woman is just like, oh my god, and he's screaming for his son, and you're just like, oh fudge, like where's this book going?
Yeah, that did kind of like, I was like, oh, it's gonna be a sad parent story. Like,
yeah,
what also, like, so when I was a kid, when you're a kid, your parents tell you, like, you're like, tell me a story before that you go to bed. My dad used to tell me this story about him and his friends would like go into the woods, and there was a tree that rooted into two trees, and so if you jump through the Y-shaped tree, it would send you into a magical land. So that kind of went back into my my memory. I was like, ah, this is okay. So yeah, it was just kind of nostalgic to have that kind of story as well.
Cool. Yeah. So you can see here, I got the book, and the dad's surrounded by press, and they're like, "Kill my son! Can't you have any respect?" So not only did this guy like lose his son, all this stuff, people think, because that's like the natural thing that people get on, like parents killed the kid. It's the prime suspect. Ends up losing his wife. She divorces him over it. Which I was just like, fucking bitch, like it made me so mad. One of my little pet peeves, Bats, is like a woman who doesn't stand by her man. And then now this is the older brother, is getting picked on at school because he's like posting missing persons posters of his brother missing, and it's just this tragic, it's this huge tragedy, and this is dark, and like, what the hell am I reading? Like, I thought this was going to be an adventure story about
right.
something, like, and I'm like, I feel horrible. This kid is this, and this is where it takes a turn. So they get a call one day, and they're like, you got to come see this. And this is now, to make matters more complex is it's the wife's new boyfriend is like the FBI agent in charge of the case. So there's like this weird fucking complexity here, but he's still doing his job, and he calls the ex-husband over, and he's like, you got to see what's going on. And they got this fucking Conan dude in the interrogation room. And it's like, you're telling me you're some kind of dragon slayer?
Oh yeah, I thought that was really funny.
And they're like interrogating him. Well, it turns out that this guy's claiming to be their long lost son.
When I was reading this, I was like, just kind of like the same in EXO. I was like, this has to be a movie.
Yeah, yes.
And they have to cast Jason Momoa.
Yes, I was the same way. I was like, Momoa would rock this.
And which I'm pretty certain when people create comics, they're like, the writers and artists have conversations. I'm pretty sure that they were like, hey, Jason Momoa like did a really good Conan, and he looks awesome in Game of Thrones. So let's kind of like base old Mike on that.
Yeah.
Which, now he's Aquaman and he's a big shot. But I think when they first made this book, I think that was kind of a conversation, like, showing Jason Momoa.
Yes. Jason Momoa would rock this, I think.
And like just the humor of the character where as it goes on, he's just like, we can do whatever we want kind of thing, like he would kind of have that child innocence too.
Yeah.
Still.
And so they're interrogating him, and the interrogator's like, so you were playing catch with your father when you were kidnapped by, he's like, I never said I was kidnapped. It was destiny. And then it flashes back to the scene where he's like, Daddy, and this kid's lost in the woods. He's like, that must have been scary for you as a little kid. Lost in the woods like that, all alone? You have no idea. But I wasn't alone. And it flashes back, Daddy's crying little kid. Is that you, Dad? And he's like looking, and then this fucking beast comes out, and he's like, oh, running, and then something grabs him, and it's these other little flying kids with wings, and you're just like, what the hell? And then this dude shows up, you're just a runt, aren't you, hero? And this is where the story kind of started reminding me of the Matrix. Because it has
I didn't even think of that. Yeah, totally.
Has this whole like chosen one thing, and then this guy is kind of like a Morpheus figure who's like, you're the chosen one, who's got to save our kingdom. And I just love this scene here where this little girl, and it's like, I love this age. I like when you can write kids like kids, and they're this age, they're prepubescent, where like boys and girls have cooties, type thing, and this guy is like, you're gonna watch him, and she's like, what? No, me? Hell no, he'll only slow me down. And then he's just like looking, I'm not gonna slow you down. I can beat any girl in a race, easy, And that also kind of got me too. I was like, this is an Image book saying he's better than a girl. Like, what the? I was like, cool. Like, okay, we're not gonna have any.
Robert Kirkman over at Skybound was like, they're not even paying attention. Like, yeah, because I thought that too. I was like, wow, we can get away with that nowadays.
Well, my thing was more of like, I know now this isn't going to be an SJW book, right? Because an SJW writer wouldn't do that, wouldn't write a kid that way, But so I was like, that's really cool, and that ringed true to me. And that's what I like is when you write kids and they feel like, oh, that's how kids talk to each other, like. And so we get more flashbacks of the past, and the mom's all stricken, and she's like, oh my God, and she's going through a what's that term, cognitive dissonance. She's being faced with these facts that this is her son, but she can't quite come to grips with it. So in her mind is all conflicted, and this is all this proof. He's found their notebook, the backpack, but the notebook's now all filled out with all these maps and things, and the dad is just like, that's my boy. That's my boy. I've been persecuted all my life, this whole time. And
I really like that about the dad. He was just like, he's like willing to go out on a chance, even if this is bullshit. Because it's like, the guy just wants some hope. Like, especially in his life, he's become an alcoholic. His wife left him.
Yeah.
He just needs something to make him like feel somewhat normal again.
Yeah, the world is just beating him down, right?
Yeah.
On top of beating him down, he lost his son, he lost his wife, like, and everyone thinks he's a fucking
possibly
murderer.
His job too,
Yeah,
possibly his entire reputation,
everything is fucking literally destroyed, and it's been this way for years,
It's been 1 year.
Oh, that's 1 year. Oh, still,
yes,
okay,
it was 1 year
still. And then this is okay. So people, you guys watching along or whatever or listening, if you're live, you're probably not going to turn away. But if you're listening to this later and you haven't read this book, I'm about to spoil something huge. I've already spoiled some things, and I feel bad. Like, this is
essentially the premise.
This is way better to read than have us just like, because there's a lot of like plot twists in this book. This is the big one. So he's in the interrogation room, Mikey. And the adults are talking outside and everything, and the father's like, "That's my boy. I told you I didn't kill him, you motherfuckers." Like, I'm paraphrasing, but he's just like, finally he feels vindicated, and so Mikey is left alone, and then all of a sudden there's this voice: "Are you alone?" "Yes." "Excellent." And then this gaseous thing comes up, and it's like his eyes glaze over, glowing red, like he's all possessed. "Do you remember your orders, fallen hero? Our agent of deceit and destruction." Now, I forgot to tell you before this, there's a scene I should have covered where in his interrogation he talks about what happened and how he was the chosen one. And unlike Matrix, where you watch the movie play out, he just basically goes, "And I was the hero, and it was true, and I saved the day." The end. Like, you're like, oh, shit. And now he's come back after he saved the day. And I was thinking, Bats, you probably are going to say, probably echo me if I'm right. I was thinking, oh, now we're going to go watch this story of what happened. Like, right? Like, he's back. We know he was the hero. Now we're going to watch the story of how he became the hero and saved the day. Were you kind of on that line?
No, I was. I wasn't. I was like, oh, he's been sent back to Earth to do something horrible, essentially.
No, not to this point. Not where the spoiler happened. Pre the spoiler. When he tells his story. I kind of ruined this. When he's telling, what happened? What were you? And he's like, well, it was destiny. I was chosen to be this hero. I killed the bad guy and saved the day. And they're like,
yeah.
Right at that point. Right before you know this twist. And you're like, oh, right. At that point, I was like, oh, they're flashing back and forth between time.
I had that, but I kind of know how Joshua Williamson is, and he kind of likes to lead you one way and throw you in the other direction.
Okay, well, I didn't. So I was reading it, and I was like, okay, now that we know he's back, it's gonna be here's my tale. That's what I was thinking. And it plays off like that's what you're supposed to think. And then you get this twist where he's like possessed, and he's like, "You're the fallen hero, not the victorious hero." You're like, "Oh shit, he lost. Neo lost." You're like, "What the hell?" And he's like, "The vow you made to the God King lore on your day of defeat. You know, do you remember that vow?" And he's like, "Yes. All of Lord's enemies on Earth must be destroyed so that my home can burn." And you're just like, "What the fuck? The hero? He's not the hero. He's the villain." And then the next panel shows a picture of the little boy, and there's just a little word balloon. This is insane. And that's like echoing my thoughts. Like, oh man, this is some great storytelling. So here they show a picture. It's probably a little lagged, but they show a picture of all the weapons they found on him.
That was hella funny.
Yeah, he just calls them tools. And it's kind of interesting too, because I was just like, oh yeah, he's got his weapons, tools. What's he need all that for? Well, you'll find out. Anyways, so the father, well, before that, Mikey talks to his older brother Brennan, and convinces him essentially to break him free. And they escape. He kind of plays off his memories, and they have some flashback scenes. He's telling them about the story, and it's. You don't know what's truth when you're reading this. I'm assuming all this is kind of true because it's before he fails, so there's no reason to tell a lie here. And he wins his brother's trust, and they end up, he tells him about a story where he got this scar and stuff, and so the brother ends up believing him, and well, actually, that's right, he breaks free himself. There's a scene, where he gets pissed off and he breaks free and crashes through this window of the two-way mirror and confronts Mom, Dad. And then the dad's like, "Your weapons are down the hall of the lockup, son." And the mom's like, "Heron." And he's like, "Thanks, Dad." And like you, I'm the same way. I was like, I loved how the dad stuck by his son. And they try to take him down with tasers. And this part really reminded me, it's not just The Matrix, but this book kind of had a Terminator feel to me.
Yeah, it did. Yeah,
like where the Mikey character, the adult Mikey, feels like a Kyle Reese type. When he's like interrogating the police station, and they're like, "Yeah, right." So he like takes down all these cops. And this, again, you echoed my sentiments as well about like a movie. Like I could just see this playing down, like where he's in this FBI station and they're trying to stop him and he's just fighting them, like Conan versus the FBI.
Kind of like you saw Aquaman where he's beating up all the dudes in the submarine.
Yeah.
It's kind of, it reminded me of that too.
Yeah. And so they're going after him and they're like, "Enough story time. I don't care who you are. You touch anything on that table, we're going to light your ass up." And he's just like, "You expect me to surrender? I've clashed with troll platoons, fought my way out of the belly of a dragon, survived the angry engines, and swam in the deep end of the blood pits. And it's been a long time since I've ran from anything." And he's, look at this sword. You're just like, holy shit.
Yeah, that was like, that's dope. Like, I can't wait to see him like really like whip out some cool ass weapons and like further stories.
Exactly. And then they flash back to the other world, I'll just call it. And him being a kid, and I won't go into all the details here. Let's try to speed things up. He eventually breaks away from the FBI, and they get on the run, and the dad helps him. They steal his mom's car, and they go on the road. And he convinces his dad and his brother that there are these 5 rogue mages that have escaped to Earth, and that these mages are like the last threat and they have to be stopped, when in essence the real truth is that these mages are all that's stopping the God King, the Lore King, or whatever his name is, from coming to Earth. And that's what the evil king is trying to get him to do, to kill these guys for him. And so they're on their way, and this little guy here on the porch, Yes.
I like those. I mean, the delay. I'm seeing it on the delay, but I liked all those. Yeah, not the porch, but back one or back two. I liked those characters that
Yeah,
they showed
here's
in the collage
the
of
5
them.
wizards.
Yeah, I thought that was neat, and we're gonna get more of those as the story progresses.
Yeah, he says up here, he says their presence here has created a rip between the worlds. It's how Rook was able to grab me in the first place. Rook was the
Hmm.
Morpheus character that trained him. They are evil incarnate, operating in secret to allow Lore's legacy to breed on Earth. The longer the doorway between our two worlds remains open, it gives them more power to leech from Terranos, which is the other world. The authority and the ability to gather forces that will bring Terranos and Earth closer than ever. And only when they have been sent back to Terranos will all the dark forces be truly defeated, which of course is a lie. We fast forward, he's like, and he's talking about this guy. He's like, this is one of the most powerful mages. Only if we have to sneak up on him do we have a chance. And he's like saying how evil he is. Yeah, here he says, I will find him if the legends are true. We will have to surprise him, or he will kill us all. So in the meantime,
He's just chilling there with his cats.
yeah. In the meantime, the police are chasing him, and the dad's like, ah, shit. And he throws. I don't know why he throws his phone away and not just turn it off, but whatever.
Because it could be tracked.
Well, not if it's off, but for the sake of comics, sure.
No, you can continue to track a phone if it's like off on.
No, you can't.
Even with. All right. Well,
I worked for a cell company. You can't. If it's on and it's connecting to a tower, you can. But if it's off,
okay.
you can't. And even when it's connecting to a tower, it's still difficult. But you can get like the general like 25 square mile area that it's at. You can't just be like, hey, it's here. He's at that Circle K, or something.
That's
but
such
anyways,
a SoCal reference.
What?
That's such a SoCal reference.
I guess it is. They had Circle K's in Denver. They don't have them up there up in Napa Valley.
No, sir.
Oh, it's probably too white collar or too white trashy for Napa. Anyways, so we have some more adventures in the Terranos, which are just really good for sort of background of how he learned to be this warrior. I really did like this scene here, though, where they fight this razor beast, and they kill the beast, and then the mom shows up, and it's this freaking giant, almost kaiju-like thing. And the kids, the little flying kids, rescue him, and one of them gets cut down, and she's pretty much left to die. And then he just pulls out his knife and like faces it. And he's like, get away from her. And I was like, oh, yeah, this is like a heroic thing. Like this kid, it really is kind of a hero. Like what happened? It made me want to know more about. We know this kid falls and surrenders to the Dark Lord, but before then he really was a hero. What's going on?
Mm-hmm.
So I'm trying to speed up here. They end up tracking where the wizard is. They stop at a rest stop. He notices, and he's like, they're about to leave. He's like, no need. They're going to walk. He's going to run to him, whatever. And he's a little cabin out in the woods. And lo and behold, the wizard has enchantments that has on the woods that have spotted him. It's like, no intruders. And they have to get past that. And then the wizard guy is like, you reek of Terranos, how? And then they face him off and say, we're here to take you back. And he's like, the guy's like, what? He's like, that's impossible. He's like, who are you? And he's like, I am the hero foretold for generations. It was my destiny to defeat Lore and save Terranos, to destroy his legacy of. And then the wizard's like, no, I know what you are. And he sees right through the deception. And then Mikey's like, Dad, take Brennan and run. And then Dad's like, no. He's like, I'll do no such thing. I won't lose you again. And so the wizard is just like, whoa, reveals himself. Is like, I know why you've come for me, and your journey ends here in death. And we get some more flashbacks. And you can read the book yourself and see. And the wizard and Mikey fight here in present day. This is what's important. And eventually, so the dad's running away. You think the dad's taking Brennan away, and it turns out he's like, no, I'm not running. I think I skipped over it. And he's like, Dad, why are you running, Dad? He's like, I'm not running, I'm helping. So they bring him that sword. And the wizard's just, has the upper hand at this point, and then they bring his sword, and then the wizard looks, and he's like, the flaming sword of Mount Blood? But how did you... He's like, you recognize it? Now you know who you're really fighting. And the wizard's like, oh, shit. And he's like, burn! And...
I wanted to point out that, like, there's... Joshua Williamson, I felt like it was almost kind of making fun of fantasy at some points. There's like the part, yeah, because like there's parts where in the interrogation scenes where he's talking about, like you just said, the flaming sword of blood or whatever. It's just like when I read that in my head, I was like, that sounds so silly, and it's like he's just kind of like throwing together like buzzwords in fantasy and like, okay, well that works,
Sure.
The bat's eyes, the goblin eye of, so and so, and just like, and that's why I always thought fantasy just never worked for me. And so like putting it in the world of like the real world, and he's like, and they're talking about a flaming sword of blood, it's just like, it's so silly, right. But for the sake of this story, it works really well.
Batarang isn't silly.
No, absolutely not.
All right. We're on the same page. Okay, so anyways, so he ends up slaying the wizard, and the dad's just like, what, Mikey? And his brother, oh my God, you should have surrendered, wizard. And he defeats him, and then the brother's like, what the fuck's going on? And before he finally passes, the brother's like looking at him, he's like, he's still breathing. We have to call 911. The wizard's like whispering, it's too late, but listen, your brother's not what he seems. Look. And he touches him, and we presume he gives him some sort of vision. And then, of course, Mikey's like, did he just say something to you? No, nothing. It was nothing. Ward was a well-known manipulator and liar. His death will be celebrated back in Terranos. And it's like, I don't know about you, but this, maybe it's just all the politics we deal with, but this sort of like reminded me of like the modern day, like we deal with SJWs, like they're always kind of like trying to control the narrative. And I felt like, not that this character's SJW or not, but it felt very metaphorical in the sense of like how this Mikey character needs to control the narrative to his brother and father. Mm-hmm. And he immediately is like, that dude is lying, don't listen to anything that guy says. He's a liar, because he doesn't want the truth to be heard. And it just kind of had a little parallel for me there. So the FBI is hot on their tail, and they eventually find the father. And it turns out that, because I skipped a scene where Brennan, the little brother, called the mom just to let her know he was okay, and doesn't realize they could track the phone. So he inadvertently led him there. But then he runs off with his brother, and the dad is just there to take the heat. And then we see some scenes back in Terranos. He was the boy, and we see this princess. He's like, princess? Finally, and it turns out, oh yeah, I forgot the prophecy also says you have to marry a princess. And he's like, what?
I like that part, because I really dug that part, because it's just like it furthers the story, and it's like, an arranged marriage is always like good for like dramatic storytelling.
Yeah,
conflict is the better word.
Sure. And then you see back in the present a princess, an honest to goodness princess. Yes. Did you actually marry her? Yes, but so wait, does that mean I have a sister-in-law? It's complicated, and it just, I love the flashbacks. Like when you're looking at the flashbacks, it's actually kind of him telling the story, we're witnessing it, and it's very cinematic, like you mentioned earlier. And just real quick, because I'm just trying to get through this, you see him talking to the lore, and he's basically talking their plans about killing everyone, and this is sort of like the whole setup story. And he's like, don't worry, the challenge is ahead of me, I'll stop him. This guy's basically Vader. That's another parallel too. Like this is like the Emperor and Vader, And this is where it got interesting. It's like no one can stop me. And then you see that little winged black girl that was sent to like be his protector right in the very beginning, and you see her to say, "Okay, let's go find your daddy," and she's pregnant.
Yeah, I love that.
And you're
I
just
was like,
like,
oh,
"What?" And that's to be continued. And here's those maps that you hate.
yeah. I was like, oh, they put the maps. Of course they did.
But I loved how they did it when Cran.
Yeah, yeah. It made it more involved in the story because it was essentially a 9-year-old boy like drawing it out with the few resources he has from his home.
So that is Birthright Volume 1. And I freaking loved it. What about you? I mean, you kind of already talked a little bit about it, but what's your opinion?
I really liked it. I wouldn't say I loved it, but I wish it was a TV show or something along those lines where I could just like watch it.
Oh, this would be a better TV show than a movie because it's
Yeah.
long. Like if like HBO or someone did it like a real quality story of this, like over like 3 or 4 seasons, like, oh man.
Yeah. The book is up to like 30 right now too, so there's quite a few volumes of it.
Yeah, so I saw parallels of Matrix, some Terminator, some Star Wars. One of the things I really liked was I felt like, oh, this is how like the whole Anakin Emperor relationship should have been like, versus how it actually was. But I don't want to go down that rabbit hole. Did you feel like maybe you didn't love it as much because it's not your cup of tea, like normally?
I really appreciated the premise and the idea and the characters, but like, when I read things like, the flaming sword of blood, I get really like pulled out of it, and I'm just like, oh, it's so silly. But it's just not my cup of tea, because I love DC Universe, and I love like Dragon Ball, and I'm a big Tokusatsu fan. So
what's funny is that you're a Tokusatsu fan and dudes in rubber suits isn't silly to you, but
yeah,
like this
yeah, exactly. Like, so it just comes down to taste, and I really liked it. Like I said, if this was a TV show, and it was like, oh yeah, it's created and written by Joshua Williamson, I would be like, oh yeah, I'm gonna watch this. Like,
yeah, I like this so much that like I am like hunting now. I'm thinking of trying to find find someone like selling like a whole set and trying to get bulk the back issues.
Okay.
Because
I don't blame you. Yeah.
This is a book that like I just sort of, when I got back into comics, I saw, and it was like, probably would have been easier to collect, but I was like, I don't know, just moved on. I want superhero books, I'm like you, but now that I've read this, I'm like, oh, why did I pass on this? This is so good. And I'm so tired of being disappointed in comics, Like,
yeah.
I love Superman. Superman is one of the things that got me back into comics. And I'm so disappointed on what's currently going on with the Bendis story arcs. And I just don't want to feel that way. And this book, I'm like, this is really good writing. And, I'm definitely now going to check out more Flash stuff because Josh Williamson has really impressed me. I wish I could have gone in more detail. I know it takes a long time to go through these books like this, but I really did try to rush it. But there's just some of the scenes, how he sets up, and like I tried to point out where he showed like, this is insane. Like the way he not just tells a story and crafts a world and everything, but how he moves scenes together and links things. It was just fantastic. And this isn't even one of the best artists in the business. This is just a pretty decent artist, But,
yeah, I definitely have a lot of respect for Joshua Williamson as a storyteller. He knows what he's doing. He's a professional, and I got a lot of respect for him. He's also not a Twitter weirdo. He's just like, hey, it's Wednesday. I got the Flash. Go buy it. It's like you could say. He's just like, just doesn't get involved in any of the silliness, and so you like you don't ever have to worry about him. There's times where in comics now is where you're like, oh, I really like this guy, and then like out of nowhere he's like, die of dick cancer. You're like, oh.
Right.
Like Mike McCone was one of those artists for me where I was like, oh, it's Mike McCone. Ooh, I love Mike McCone. And then like I even like got prints from him at conventions and stuff, and I'm like, and so like now he's like, die of dick cancer. I was like, oh, oh, I'm gonna go throw that in the garbage. Just go throw his prints in the garbage.
Yeah, I won't buy Mike McCone. Hey, real quick, Rookie Critic, shout out to you, buddy. I saw you come in. Couldn't do that. I didn't want to do shout outs in the middle of that, but now that we're over the book, say hello to you. I noticed you asked us to be in a stream sometime. I'm always down to be in streams. What about you, Bats?
Yeah, as long as I am available, I like to pop in.
All right, so yeah, hit us up. You know how to reach us on Twitter. Talk to us. We'll be get in touch with us. I definitely my availability is really weird, so it's probably gonna be tough for me. But if we can work something out, yeah.
Okay, so next week's book, right?
Oh, we got next week's book. Drum roll.
Okay, so as you and I had talked about in private conversation, it's like, man, we've been like just knocking it out of the park with good books.
Oh shit, you're not gonna break this, are you? You're like, time to stop.
No, but since we started this venture, now I have three new series I want to read. And I was like, I'm like, is it going to be a fourth one if I pick what I was thinking? Oh no, and so I was like, but there's been a couple of books that I kind of had like, I'm gonna drop this one one day. I'm gonna drop this one day. And I went to go look, and then I realized it exceeded our rule of 200 pages. So I realized, well, I just want, and it's in a thicker book. And I was like, well, we don't need to read that whole thing. So instead of actually reading a graphic novel, we're going to be reading 4 issues. It is Flash 197 to Flash 200.
And what's significant about these issues?
It is written by Jeff Johns, and it is also written or drawn by Scott Collins, the artist of the guy who did the Flash Annual with Joshua Williamson.
Okay.
It's also it's very significant because this is the Wally West era of the Flash. And Wally's dead now, air quotes, dead. And we've been playing off this whole Heroes in Crisis and regular DC and Wally's turmoil of his life. And this is a little bit of a nostalgic book for me. I haven't read it in 15 years. This is where I jumped in and on the Flash. And so when you said, hey, I'm thinking about checking out more Flash, I was like, I want to read the first one I ever read. So I wanted to drop this one. This is the book that I pick. It's called Blitz. There's the storyline. Flash Blitz.
All right, Flash Blitz. Hey, 1 second, everyone. I got to take an emergency quick little break. You talk about the book real quick. I'll be back.
All right. So if you haven't read Blitz, I highly recommend it. I've always been a big DC fan, but I always kind of stayed in my bubble with the Bat books, and then kind of Titans. And I liked Wally West and Titans, and I heard nothing but great things back. I was 18 years old when this book came out, and I'm 33 now. But I hadn't heard nothing but, oh, Jeff Johns' run on Flash, Jeff Johns' run on the Flash, Jeff Johns' run on the Flash. And so I finally decided to jump in, and I had jumped in at 196, and it just wrapped up a story. And then the next issue that came out, I was like, oh, this is crazy. So, like I said, I haven't read it in 15 years, and I had dropped our first one was the Robin book, and it's kind of on that level where you really get to know the character. And I know Ash loves legacy characters.
I love legacy characters.
Love legacy characters. So
did you have a where do I see this book at?
Oh, so it's in ComiXology.
Okay.
And instead of going to collected editions or anything like that, you scroll down to issues, and it'll say 262 issues. You select that.
What's the number of the issue?
197.
Flash 197. Do you know, you just FYI for ComiXology users, if you type in, like I just typed in Flash 197, it'll actually take you straight to that book.
Okay.
Looks like there's two Flash one. Okay, so I see.
Oh yeah, this is the Wally West series
obviously
that started
it's not the ancient one there. Okay, so this is part of the Flash Rogues book.
Graphic. Yeah, so it's in the Jeff Johns run, and there's 3 big old ones that have like 10 issues in them.
Okay, so the Flash Rogues is not part of the ComiXology Unlimited, but it looks like the individual issues are. It's weird how they do that sometimes.
Yeah.
It's asking me to re-sign in. Oh, figures.
ComiXology is always going to screw you.
Flash 197.
You just want it to do the thing it's supposed to do, and it doesn't do it. I'm really surprised how well it works on the stream, because anytime any other YouTuber tries to use ComiXology, it just totally takes a crap on them.
Really?
Yeah.
Usually it works pretty good for me. Okay, so I got, because I want to just immediately borrow it, and it'll put it in my personal library so I can find these easier. Flash by Mark Waid. Let's download that. Not. All right.
Well, see, that's the thing for a lot of people is Mark. Like when Mark turned on everyone, it was like, everyone kind of talks about Kingdom Come, but for DC fans, it's like, oh, because Mark Waid really has a big impact on the Flash. And so when he turned on everyone, it's like it stung for a lot of people, because his run on the Flash is, people aren't like, oh yeah, Mark Waid, he wrote Kingdom Come, I'll read anything he did. It was more, oh yeah, he writes the Flash is really good.
So I'm curious here. So I'm looking up now. I found another Flash book. The Flash by Jeff Johns, book 3. Run Riot is what it's called. Jeff Johns, Scott Collins. 3rd volume of the Flash by Jeff Johns. Issues 189 through 200.
Yeah, that was originally what I was looking at. And I was like, oh, well, we don't need to read the Riot part.
And why is that?
Because when I was saying that while okay. I was saying like I had
You can
heard.
tell me off stream. I don't want to have to.
Well, it's just I had heard nothing but great things about how good the Jeff Johns Flash run was, and so this was kind of where I ventured out for the first time into the DC universe outside of Gotham books. And I had already had an attachment to Wally West from Titan books. So I was like, yeah, it's not that far. That's not that far of a stretch. And I had came into the last issue of the Riot storyline, and then I picked it up next issue, and it was the beginning of a new storyline, and it was mind blowing for me.
Okay.
So
So it's because usually the reason I ask is usually trade paperbacks combine, like an arc of stories or whatever. So it's kind of weird to be like, oh, you don't need these other stories.
think of it as like it's just like it's not that you don't need it, but this was the meat and potatoes of the book. Does that make sense? Like it's
Okay. I mean, I'm just curious because, like, as a reader, I'm gonna be like, wow, am I missing some story? Why am I,
but it's
Not to
it's
mention,
before
there's there's like 2 volumes before this of Jeff Johns' Flash.
yeah, and it's good, but I want you to read the Blitz storyline.
Okay. All right. Well, that's your pick. And we'll do that. So for you guys listening, the ComiXology pick this week is an unorthodox pick of individual issues, which I would like to avoid.
You could just borrow the Riot, the whole thing, and just read 96 to 200.
Yeah, but they don't number them in the books usually. It makes it complicated. But we'll do it this time. So 197 through 200.
Mm-hmm.
Jeff Johns' Flash, 197 through 200. So 4 issues. That's a breeze to read. Hopefully it's unlimited, guys. $1.99 an issue on ComiXology, or you can probably find them in your local comic book store.
Well, you won't be able to find 190s, the first issue of the storyline. And if you do, it's going to be expensive.
Oh yeah, why is that?
It's the first appearance of Zoom.
Oh.
So what this is Wally, Barry has Eobard Thorn.
No.
Okay, the Reverse Flash.
Okay.
This is Wally's Reverse Flash.
Oh, of course. They all have to have Reverse Flash.
Yeah. It's a legacy character to a villain.
Oh, so stupid.
But it's Jeff Johns, so
Jeff Johns is a really fantastic writer. So really quick then, why this book over, say, something like Flash Rebirth?
Because of the events that's happening in the DC universe right now.
Okay. That's a good answer. Fair enough. Let's so that's the book this week, guys. Flash 197 through 200. Please, hopefully someone will participate. I feel like I need to give a prize out to someone who participates in our club. What's next? Oh, the news. Is there something going on in the news lately?
I think Gail Simone eats Wendy's.
That's not news.
Oh, that's right. DC Comics showed Wendy's that they eat McDonald's and Burger King. They showed them.
Comics Quirk, shout out, buddy. Welcome. Thanks for
What's up, buddy?
No, there's something big in the news going on. And,
yeah, Gail Simone.
Something not quite as big as Gail Simone, but big in its own right. It's a lot of people have been talking about it, and so I know maybe some of you have like, oh yeah, we heard this a couple days ago, but our show's on Wednesdays, so we haven't had a chance to talk about it. I made a little bit of a boo-boo myself, and not thinking, and I posted a little bit of a video on my own channel, which I apologize to my good friend here, Sergeant Batts, who had said he was going to do the news thing portion today. But I didn't really actually talk about much of what happened. I just basically wanted to say I'm against this and shame on you That was my video. So, for those people who have been hiding in a hole, like Comics Quirks, I'm sorry, he doesn't hide in a hole. He lives in a hole.
It's a
No,
college dorm,
I know. I'm just giving him shit.
which is a hellhole.
A hellhole. There you go. What happened?
So Peter Simeti, publisher of Alternate Comics, nicest guy on Twitter, was doing a live stream. Was that Tuesday? It was yesterday. Yeah, it was Tuesday. He was doing a live stream when he was greeted by two police officers pointing two guns at him. And we found out that he was swatted. And if you don't know what swatted means, it means people call the police on a false accusation where the SWAT team will show up into your house. Yes. And so that happened to Mr. Simeti while he's just hanging out with his buddy, talking about comics, promoting their book. And the next thing he knows, he has two guns in his face. So, yeah, this is how you wanna enjoy your Tuesday evening.
So this happened to Peter Simeti. Do we know anything why? Like, is there any information that's come out yet about why?
No information has come out as to why. I mean, we can speculate that Peter refuses to denounce Comicsgate. And, you know, they've been harassing and attacking and antagonizing Peter Simeti like for over a year now, where I remember back in September, he was like, I need a break. I feel suicidal. I want to kill myself. So they're just constantly just on this guy. And he hasn't backed down and he hasn't cracked. And so they just had to, it seems like they had to up the ante.
Yeah, that's what it seems like. Apparently, the kind of I don't know if it's really an unfortunate thing, but a kind of a frustrating thing about it is that we don't have details. It would be very easy if it were like, hypothetically, I'm not pointing any fingers here. This is hypothetical. If it were like, oh, we found out SJW Spider-Man did this, we'd be able to like point out something, you know. But right now, it's just mystery person. We don't know. It could literally be anybody. But all signs point to, if you look at motive, the only people that have any motive to do this, other than someone maybe in his personal life, but is anti-Comicsgate. You know, what I call comics hate. That are constantly. I mean, if you're going to try to drive a man to suicide, why wouldn't you swat him? I mean, the first attempt to kill him didn't work, so try again. It just sickens me, man.
And this has happened over video games. So here we are. And the guy who was playing video games, he was actually killed in the in the swatting. So in some states, I believe Kansas, if you get caught for swatting, it's instant 10 years in prison.
Yeah, it should be. I you know,
in some other states, they completely, after you've been criminalized and put into the system, they remove your internet entirely. So, you know, Joe Schmo goes to buy a phone from Verizon, and they're like, "Oh, it looks like you can't have internet. So you can call and text on this." And so if he goes and gets, you know, a internet provider for his home, looks like Joe Schmo can't get internet. Joe Schmo can't go to the library and use his library card to get on the internet. It's just like they just shut him down out of the internet. So let's hope that they find this guy or girl, whoever it may be.
Yeah, I'm
This
all
person.
for if you try to falsely accuse someone of a crime, that you then be convicted for the same sentence that the crime, you know,
Mhm.
which really kind of goes on a tangent about these women who falsely accuse men of rape. It's like, oh, you falsely accused him, then you get charged like for the same, you serve the time that he would have. This is bullshit. It's utter bullshit that people have the ability to weaponize law enforcement to hurt other people, and then they can just kind of get away. I mean, this is essentially attempted murder. When you swat someone, you're not there. You're not trying to like, haha, I did a prank, haha, the police. It's not Ashton Kutcher behind a camera being, you got punked, right? Make no mistake, you are trying to kill someone. That's why you swat someone. If you want to play a prank on someone like that, order like 20 pizzas and have them delivered to their house. And so in my mind, you should face attempted murder charges. Like, we live in a society where people just get away with this nonsense. Like that guy that attacked Jeremy Hambley. You familiar with that?
Mm-hmm.
At Gen Con.
Quartering.
The quartering, aka the quartering, yeah. Attacked him at Gen Con. Just came up from behind him, started, beating on him. He had to like flee into like a bar. Law enforcement did nothing. Like, it's just this world we live in. There's like just no consequences, and these.
You know what's what I often think about this, because all my friends are normies. In my circle of friends, no one reads comics. My roommate reads Superman because I buy him for him. If I just stopped buying him for him, he probably wouldn't go out of his way to go get him. And so all my friends are normies, and so sometimes I talk to them about ComiXgate because I need an outsider's perspective.
Sure.
Like Zach talks about this, like, if your whole day is consumed is just trying to ruin someone's life, you gotta go talk to someone else and ask them if this is healthy. Like today on Twitter, Renfamous is going on, trying to ruin EVS today. And I just tweeted her, it's like, Renfamous, it's your birthday. Go spend time with your friends. You do have friends, right? It's literally her birthday, and she's on Twitter bitching about EVS.
Oh, my goodness.
Like, go have, like, a normal life. Like,
Yeah. Comic Quirk says Donnie Cates tweeted saying he doesn't care what side people are on, ComiXgate or not. No one should get hurt over comics.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Like I was telling my normie friends about this situation today, and they're like, this is over comic books? And I'm like, the thing that I've been saying, I've been in a culture war. I wasn't joking, man. Like, this shit is getting real. Like, people are trying to ruin each other's lives. If not, kill them. Now over the guy just wants to sell affordable comic books. It won't announce his loyal customers, who happens to be ComiXgate, because ComiXgate noticed it. They're like, oh, look at this indie guy selling books for $1.50. Hey, they're actually pretty good. I like this. No, he's not a weirdo on Twitter. He's a really nice guy. I took a picture of his book and he retweeted it and he said, thanks for buying my book. This guy's a professional. And it's like, and then these SJWs are weirdos that I like to just call them. They're just weirdos to me. They're like, how dare he interact with his fans like a normal person? It's like, he wants to sell books for how much? $1.50? No. There's no politics in them? No. Oh, they're just fun stories for $1.50? Well, no. Like, this is how I see it. And it's like, he's so nice. Like I have like several like tweets with Peter Samedi. He's like, "Hey, thanks, man." It's like
Seriously, Peter Samedi might be the nicest guy in comics. I don't think you're gonna meet a more genuine, good person than Peter Samedi, and it kills me because you got all these SJWs on the other side thinking they're what's good.
mhm.
They're the goodness of the world. They care about all the plights of minorities and what's the term that they say all the time that I hate? Marginalized. No, being good is Peter Samedi. You want to be good, be like him. Um, yeah, I think Donny Cates was right on what he said. He also made another comment that I'm trying to find, but I'm having trouble at the moment, where he basically made a comment about Comicsgate too. Like I was like, "Come on, dude," and I just kind of responded to him like, "You don't have to say anything about Comicsgate. Just say what you're saying about Peter Samedi, and don't take it as an opportunity to do a backhanded slap to Comicsgate." You know, like I thought that was just unnecessary, right? Like,
Mhm.
uh, now I think Donny Cates is okay. I think he gets a lot of pressure from his peers. You know, I think he probably gets a lot of misinformation. His view of Comicsgate is like not the real perception, so it's easy for him to judge. When I see him saying the things, I see him. What I go is like his opinion is just based on lies. Like he doesn't actually see the truth. He's still living in the Matrix. So I'm a little bit more forgiving of Donnie. Plus, he never really says anything outright bad. He just is like, I don't like what Comicsgate does, or or whatever. He's not like, F you, here's a picture of my anus. He doesn't do that.
Well,
Um,
it's also, if you notice too, it's also the successful people who don't want to say too much. Donny Cates, he's the one like getting closest to the edge, but he keeps stepping back from it. Same
yeah,
with
I kind of like, that's what I commented to him. I'm like, just don't even, like, just don't say anything. Just go make, you don't have to like Comicsgate to not comment on it, like,
Mhm.
and when you are going to comment on it, realize what you're commenting about. And this brings me to a point, actually. I wasn't sure if I'd bring this up on the stream, but I guess I will. I'm not going to reveal anything. But you know how we were talking behind the scenes? One of our boys got a shout out by uh, um, Scott Snyder.
Yeah.
Well, guess who contacted me today?
Huh. Right
Yeah,
on.
yeah. So I got in a small conversation with Scott, and it's about Comicsgate, and it pretty much ended up me saying what I'm saying now. Like, just understand when you're against some asshole who says something disparaging, that's not Comicsgate. That's an asshole saying something disparaging. Like, that's not Comicsgate. And I told him, I was like, any more than the dude who swatted Peter Samedi, I'm not blaming you, Scott. Right? Like, that's not you. That was some
Mhm.
asshole. I'm not saying, see what comics pros are doing to Peter. No. Like, let's and I was like, let's all be more real about this. And I think I got through a little bit because he was contacting me back. So that was kind of interesting. I was like, I went from like, oh, dude, I never had Scott Snyder reach out to me before, and then the next thing I know, he's reaching out to me. So I thought that was,
He does reach out to people. Like I know that if you're like, man, I hated Justice League, he'd be like, well, what didn't you like about it, and what could I do about it? It's like so he is that kind of guy who kind of has his finger on the pulse when it comes to the fans.
yeah, no, I think Scott Snyder is a great guy. Comics Quirks said that Scott's actually a great guy. Um, I do think Scott is a great guy. I was really disappointed when a few months back when he made that whole calling out Comicsgate. I'm against it. I really feel like that was forced. I feel like that was Heather Antos like pulling strings. I really hated that. But after that was over, like that whole anyone that was involved in Comicsgate at the time probably remembers this that organized campaign where it was like for like 1 week, all of a sudden all these comics creators were all like making tweet posts like anti Comicsgate. It was like public service announcements. You're like, really? And then all of a sudden, like, they went back to being silent about it. And so Scott was one of the holdouts, and Heather Antos, I'm pretty sure it was Heather Antos, made this tweet about, I'm really disappointed that, you know, we haven't heard you say something on the issue, Scott. Or she made some sort of like concern troll tweet that I was like, oh, that's so freaking low. Oh God, what it must be like working for someone like her. And then, like, sure enough, like within 24 hours, Scott had a post, and you're just like, oh, Jesus, come on. And
pretty much playing the optics, as they call in politics.
Right, right.
You're like, oh well, if I don't, then it looks bad, and if I do, it looks just as bad. It looks less bad, and you know.
So Tehaleem says, I'm not on either side. I hear both sides out. I choose to sit on the outside of CG and ACG.
You're either with us or you're against us.
No, I don't necessarily think that.
I'm just kidding. That
right, that's funny. I don't think you really can be not on either side, right? Like
it's like a centrist.
You can't be a centrist.
It politically leans either left or they lean right.
Exactly.
So it's kind of the same thing.
Yeah. So to me and Tehaleem, much respect as being an audience member and someone, you know, I'm definitely no better than. I feel like that is a wishy-washy kind of stance. I feel
and
like,
you're here. He's here.
What do you mean he's here?
He's here. Like me and you are both open Comicsgate, so he's here.
Well, sure, but I mean he's admitting that he hears both sides out, so he's following what he describes. I'm saying at the risk of, and I'm not saying this at all to be disrespectful. I know it can definitely come across this way, and I know that, but please don't hear it this way. But I do feel it's like a wishy-washy stance to be. It's like, I don't want to step on anyone's toes. Here's the thing. This is what Comicsgate is. We're against politicization and proselytizing of existing comics properties, replacing what was previously there, and replacing also good storytelling. We're against that. We're against, like, oh, you remember those fun Captain America stories you liked? Yeah, we're going to, like, take those away, and we're going to turn it into an anti-American propaganda rag. We're against that. We're also against professionals behaving unprofessionally. So when we go, hey, what'd you do with Captain America? That's BS. We're not going to buy this crap. Oh, yeah? Well, you're a Nazi. Who cares what you think, you stupid bigot? You probably just don't like it because we we replaced him with a black guy, and you're just racist against black people. No, we're not racist. Yes, you are. Obviously, that's unprofessional. You know, we, as a consumer, our voices should be heard in a professional manner. You don't have to agree with the consumer's voices, but you treat them with the respect of someone who's giving you money for your product. You're not paying me to read Marvel Comics. I'm paying you, and I'm paying you way too much. So,
well, you don't buy Marvel.
Well, right now I don't, sure. But my point being is, you are either on the side of that, like you are, like I believe in that, and I defend that idea, or you don't care about that idea. Like one of the two. And if you care about that idea, if you side with that and think that that's wrong, you're Comicsgate. If you don't, then I guess you're not Comicsgate. Now, it doesn't make you anti-Comicsgate, I guess, because you can still be like, hey, cool, I don't really care that all this shit's happening. You know, they can F up comics all they want. It doesn't bother me. But I'm not going to, like, be mad at you guys either for caring. That, I guess, is more of a a, 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 true neutral stance, but it's really weird to see someone who cares about comics not care about comics.
Yeah, like my local comic shop owner, he's in the middle as a retailer because at the end of the day, he just wants to sell comics. He's got a kid to feed, he's got a mortgage, he's got all the bills of an adult, and he puts that on the back of selling comics. So,
right.
If he knows I'm Comicsgate and he comes to me and he's like, "Hey, you guys like those alternate books, right? Do you want me to order any of them?" And now I'm like, "Order all of them." Like, order all the alternate books, at least one copy for me, and I will buy them all. He comes out with what, 4 a month,
Yeah.
and they're $1.50. Yeah, just order all of them. Order all the alternate books. I don't care what number they're on. Just if it's alternate, buy one for me,
And
I'll buy
the
it.
books aren't even monthly. I think they're bi-monthly, so they're $1.50 every
But
other
no,
month.
but yeah, Peter has like 4 to 6 books a month coming out through Alterna. And $1.50 doesn't break my budget.
Right.
Me going, am I gonna add another $3.99 book on here? I'm already at like the $45 mark. Do I wanna go to 50? Like, nah.
Yeah.
I'm gonna put this one back.
So, yeah, I'm
And so me as a consumer and Comicsgate, I had tweeted this out. It's like this swatting thing essentially ensures me as a customer, I'm going to buy all of Peter Simeti's books. Just buy them all. It doesn't break my bank.
Yeah, I'm not gonna buy them all.
I just want to do it to support the guy. I want it like
No, I applaud you for that.
like,
I don't want anyone else to feel like what you're doing is admirable, and I applaud you for that. I don't want anyone else to feel like if they're not going that level of distance,
no, absolutely,
that they're like they should feel inferior. Like, oh, if you're not buying all of Peter's books, you're not doing enough. Like.
Well, no, that's just me. Like, I'm willing.
Yeah.
I'm just willing to like drop Johnny Cates Venom over that, or I'm not gonna be reading Red Sonja anymore, so I could drop that.
Sure. So, yeah, totally. I agree with you. I'm personally not at that level of commitment. I have more of a budget that I have to follow. Plus, comics take up a lot of space, and I already have I'm sure you do too, Bats. Just boxes of comics. And I'm on my 4th short box since getting back into comics last June. I'm, I don't want to be 4 short. It's like 2 long boxes every 6 months. I don't. That's a lot. Now, admittedly, that's a lot of back issue catch up stuff. So I'm not really that fast, but I need to slow down and be just more particular about the hard copy stuff I get, because I just don't want to accumulate that much stuff.
I'm also I've always been a person who gives comics away.
Sure. I don't. Yeah. I wish I had more of an outlet on that. I don't.
Because I had the mentality of like, these are meant to be read and enjoyed. They're not meant to sit in a box in my closet.
Right.
The books that I collect. So I kind of have this alternative thing where it's like I'm gonna buy them, and it's obviously gonna stack on me. I'm just gonna go give it out to like people. Like, I read Unit 44, and I was like, I like this, but I think like a 10-year-old to like 12-year-old would really like this and find it more entertaining than me.
Sure.
Where me, I want something like the book we read this week with Birthright. I want something like that with this kind of art and
sure, yeah.
Certain types of storytelling.
And make no mistake, a lot of people get on the Peter Simeti bandwagon and they want to support him the same way, and I understand it and I praise it and applaud it. But they kind of go a little hyperbolic and start talking about oh, alternative is the best stuff ever, and I'm like, it's not. Let's rein this in a little bit. Bang for your buck, really high. But these books aren't the best books on the market. They're good. Some of them are better than others. I haven't tried Unit 44. Didn't look like my. The ones you kind of got didn't look like my cup of tea. Exilium is actually really good.
Yeah, that one's really caught my eye. That one looks pretty fancy.
It is, and it's not originally an alternate comic. It was an indie comic in Australia, and it didn't have any U.S. publication.
Gotcha. Makes sense.
And so Alterna picked it up. So the art is like, you look at it and go, shit, this is better than Marvel art.
Eric Breen says I topped out at 255 long boxes.
Yeah, that's ridiculous.
You...
I can't even fathom that. It's like does that even fit in a garage?
No, it will. Yeah, I that's a lot of books, bro.
That's a lot of books.
I feel like a schlub in comparison now.
So I feel like, just wrapping up the Peter Simeti thing, is like, I just tell people, look, try one book, right? You want to support Peter, you don't have to buy all of his books. Now, if you want to, by all means, I will pat you on the back, thumbs up, you the man, do it. But if you're just like, well, I don't, you're hesitant on it. Hey, I understand. You're not a bad person, but buy one. Look at all of his titles. You can find one title, I'm sure, that you go, because when I looked at his books, I was like, I'm into the superhero genre. I want superheroes. I want shared universe, and that's the one thing Alterna doesn't do. So I was like, crap, he doesn't do that. So what does he do? Well, I do like sci-fi, so I gravitated towards the sci-fi stuff, and then I also picked up Blood Realm, which I loved, and you can read my reviews on that. But I tell people, find one book that you feel is like your cup of tea, and buy it. You support the dude. It's $1.50 every other month. It's like nothing to your pull list.
Or you can go on. You can also just go to like Alterna.com and buy them directly. If you didn't even want to buy them through your local shop, or you don't have a local shop.
Sure, that's an option.
You can go, and because a lot of shops don't carry it, or they'll jump in and be like, oh, it's 2 of a 4-part miniseries. Oh, well, I guess we have part 2, but we don't have number 1. So you can go get them all available through Alterna.
Yes, and that's how I started my collection, through Alterna.
Oh, cool.
It was that way. I went and picked up a bulk of books, got myself a Alterna beanie, which I wear all the time. I love that thing. And that's how I started. And now I add them to my pull list. And unfortunately, I can't get my store to carry them. I don't know what the deal is. I haven't confronted them. They have an issue with carrying small selling books. And I'm just like, man, just order like 1 or 2 of these books. They'll sell. You guys are a big enough store that you'll sell $1.50 book.
Yeah, now they know your ComiXgate. You're like campaigning for Alterna in there.
Yeah, well, the thing is one of the writers of one of the books that I get shops at that store.
Yeah, you were telling me about that.
They told me it. Like, they know. Like, they're friends. Like, I was like, so they're not anti-Alterna. I don't know what the deal is. I haven't asked them about it. So I want to support my store as well. So I like buying, even though I'm happy to go through Peter or whatever, I want to get through the store. I like going to the store and getting my books at the store on a Wednesday. I want the stores to do well. I know Peter wants stores to do well, so we're all on the same page. So I get like 5 of the books. I'm getting Scrimshaw, The 12, The Wicked and the Righteous. I'm getting more than 5. Exilium, Eden, and Blood Realm. Those are the books.
Well, those are Blood Realm's over.
No, but there's a new series coming out.
Oh yeah, I saw that.
So all of these have new series. They're ongoing right now, or they have new series coming out, I think. So those are the ones I get. There's more. I really want to check out the Psycho.
Yeah, that looks kind of fun, doesn't it?
Yeah, I've heard really good things. Like, it's a funny book. I might pick those up on ComiXology. You can get the books on ComiXology for 99 cents. So they're even cheaper.
Pretty legit.
On digital. You just have to wait a month. That's the way Peter does it. Instead of charging the same price, like, they're not available digitally till a month later, but you get them for $1 instead of $1.50. And that's his way of helping the stores. So, yeah, and so other people are mentioning books like Metaphase. You have Unit 44. There's other books out there that may be more liking of other people. That's just the ones I get. But pick one book. Like, this guy needs your support. You know, he's does all this stuff. Like, I don't know what, does he do it out of a freaking storage unit? I don't know what he does. Like, he has this really small, he might do it out of his house. I don't know. I've seen his office and it's cramped. And he works like mad hours, doesn't take days off. He works really hard to deliver these books and give us a great price and all this stuff. And the least we can do as comic fans, by buying one book, you're telling your store Alterna has fans, you know, and you're also showing Alterna. If every comic collector just bought one Alterna book, I think Alterna would be a massive success. So that's my preaching for that.
Yeah, I can't believe we're in a world where like a guy's trying to sell books at an affordable price is a bad person to some people.
Well, he doesn't decry Comicsgate.
Yeah.
That's the thing. This is this mentality of the progressive, the ultra progressive liberal. This is that mentality. This is, if you study Germany up until like before the war, like how did a democratic republic of Germany go from this free democracy to this country that started throwing minorities into gas chambers? Like, I've always found that very fascinating from a psychological, sociological idea. And we're kind of witnessing this mentality right now live. The same mentality that we're seeing with people who want to dox Peter are the same mentality that Germans went through in the 30s when neighbors were ratting each other out to the secret police. You know, oh, this person doesn't share the party viewpoint. Oh, I'm going to make a secret phone call and, you know, rat on them. The next thing you know, police were taking people out at night. It's that thing. It's like, their only crime is not supporting the party line, you know, and that's what's really scary. And that's the thing where I really feel like people, you need to make a stand. Someone tweeted yesterday about the Peter Simeti thing, and they were like, you know, hey, everyone needs to calm down. This isn't a time to be outraged. This is a time for healing. And I responded to it. I was like, fuck. You know, this is paraphrasing. I didn't cuss, I don't think. But I was like, fuck that. Like, this isn't a time. This is a time. If there's any time to be outraged, it's right now when people are getting freaking swatted. If this is not the time to be outraged, there is no time, right? The time for healing is when someone has a little bicker about a comic book that's nonsensical and people freak out of it. That needs some healing. That's nonsense. This is a real issue. This is something that everyone needs to just stop and go, not acceptable, you know? And that's not what's happening. We've seen a couple of pros, like Donnie Cates has said something. I saw my boy Brian Hill had said something, but for the most part, where's all these pros? Where's Gail Simone on this issue? Right? She might have said something I haven't heard, if anyone knows. But my Twitter has been pretty empty as far as anyone. Like, one of their own, a publisher in the industry, got swatted. This should be a uniting time, but it's not. Because why? Because ideology takes preference. And that's a scary thing. And when we sit back and just be like, well, it's just comics, it's not just comics. Right? This is representative of an ideology that will transcend. And it already has transcended. Comics is just the latest thing to be infected by this ideology. We're starting to see anime be infected by this. This is something that will consume everything. And the next thing you know, your neighbors are going to be ratting on you, and you're going to be like, oh, shit, we should have done something about this. Yep, Tahalim, you're right. Communism had its own secret police. But as everyone well knows, communism is also a far left, liberal, progressive ideology. Nazis were fascist. commies are communist. They have their own individual distinctions that they hate about each other, but they're really both on the far left progressive part of the spectrum. And they just it's just like two evil entities fighting each other for control. But yeah, you're right. They're both horrible. When Jason says when social justice type is railing at someone, in your head swap the words for Jew, and we're right there. Yikes! Yeah. Simone, I think, is working on destroying Lionforge Comics, says Telly. Yep. As if Lionforge needed any help. What? These comic companies, like, what are you doing? Can we just have Gail go be with Lionforge and just... Why is she even still writing Marvel and DC books?
See, there's good books over at Lionforge, too.
Just go over there.
So I'm on Gail's Twitter right now, and I'm not seeing a darn thing.
Communism is the furthest thing from liberalism. That is not correct, Jason. Communism is almost the farthest to the left you can get on the spectrum. You may be referring to old European definitions of liberalism, which aren't really applicable in the modern sense, especially if you're using the left-right paradigm from the French Revolution. That's not... Yes, liberal does mean free. That is true. But it also means liberal in the form of government. So it's a liberal government. It's not liberal in freedom. Conservative means conservative government. Restricted government. Liberal means unchecked government.
Okay. So back on topic of comics.
Back on topic, comics.
Gail Simone, 17 hours ago. Okay, I just saw this. Peter, I am so glad you are okay. I have nothing but contempt for the person who did this repulsive thing. Disgusting. And that's it. With 3 comments attached. Let's see what the comments say.
Way to make a stand, Gail.
This is some guy disagreeing with her. And then everything else is nonsense. So she was just kind of playing the optics there.
Yeah, that's definitely a lip service tweet.
Yeah.
I made my comment. Check.
Pretty much like, they're like, oh, just in case someone was like, notice Gail Simone didn't say anything about this.
Right.
They could just search Gail Simone, Peter Samedi and find it. Like, oh, well, she did say it.
Yeah. What a terrible thing. So, are you reading? What are you reading right now, Bats?
I am reading a 9 graphic novel saga.
Jesus, that sounds huge.
It is huge. It's huge. Huge.
That's what she said.
She says a lot. She needs to stop it. Get off Twitter. So each graphic novel is about the thickness of a thumb. Unless you're Ethan Van Sciver, then it's two graphic novels. I am reading the 25th anniversary of Nightfall.
Man, that's a big ass story.
And one of the reasons I have a mild confession. I never read the whole thing. And that's because DC never put the trades as the whole thing. When DC did these sagas back in the day, where it'd be like, to be continued in Robin, and then next week you go get Robin, and then it'd be like, to be continued in Birds of Prey, And then you'll be like, okay. And then you read Birds of Prey, and it's like, to be continued. In Catwoman. You're like, okay. And then you go get Catwoman. And then it just kept doing that, and it would go through all the books.
Yeah, I remember back in those days, because I actually did collect the Nightfall. That was a big event, even though I wasn't a DC guy. It was so big that I was like, all right, I'm jumping on this. And it was like, oh my gosh, back then, when we complain about crossovers today, and like kind of rightly so. I mean, there's its own problems in the comic book industry, but back in the day, it was like, Extinction Agenda, and it would be like, it's crossing over into 8 different comics, and you're just like, you had to buy everything. And the Nightfall seemed to remind me, like, anything that was related to Batman in the slightest, I seemed to, if I remember correctly, it was like tied into Nightfall.
Mm-hmm. Well, the good thing about it is this is back in the day when comic books had editors, so it's a really tight story. You don't go from like 1 issue and then 4 issues later, you're like, wait a minute. No, it feels very cohesive.
I'd be curious to read that again. My experience that I remember, and of course it's many, many years now, up 25 apparently, since reading Nightfall, is that it was very long and drawn out. Now, that's just my memory of it. That could be very distorted, but that's how I felt at the time.
Yeah, so what Nightfall, the way they did it back in the day, is the way I had read it before. It was just 3 graphic novels. And it was like Nightfall, Night Quest, and Night's End. And they're just, regular 6 to 8 issue graphic novels. But no, this was a huge event. It was pretty much a year-long story crossing between all the Batman Gotham / titles. And I had always wanted to read it, but I was like, man, I gotta go chase down like random issues of Catwoman and Legends of the Dark Knight. And, even though it's possible, it would just take way too long to collect it all, put it in order, and then read it. So I really appreciate that DC did all the work for you. And they broke it down into 3. It's 3 trilogies this way. So each act, Nightfall, Night's End, and Night Quest, Night's End, they broke it down into 3 thick graphic novels. And like I said, they're the thickness of my thumb, each of them. And they all have roughly about 15 to 20 issues in them. And they're $20. They're $19.99 graphic novels.
You must have some thick thumbs, because I remember those books being really thick.
Not that thick.
Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm thinking of different editions, because you have like a 9-volume thing. So maybe I'm thinking of like a bigger collection, per book or something. I don't know.
They had recently did it a couple years ago in big hardcover omnibuses, which I was like, oh, I want to get this. And I was like, oh, $100 for a book? Yeah, I'm okay. Even though I bought 9 $20 graphic novels, it's more digestible. They're coming out like one every couple of weeks. So, between paychecks, I can pick it up. And I knew this was coming out, so I traded a bunch of other books, like graphic novels I'm never going to read again, to my used bookstore. And I got a huge chunk of credit. So with my credit, I'm only paying $10. So I've essentially spent $90 on 9 graphic novels. Even though, I sold a big chunk of my graphic novels to get it. So to me, it's worth it. And I really love Chuck Dixon's work. I've never not liked his work. And I really big fan of Jim Aparo, Norm Brayfogle, Graham Nolan. All the guys in there are just, to me, like Batman legends. So it's just been fun to go through books when they were good, like good comics. Like sometimes I'll read them and I'll have this moment where I'm like, man, comics were so good back in the day. Why can't they just be like this still?
Right.
Why do we got to go through this neurosis nonsense with Batman? Why do we have to deal with this sad lad Batman right now?
Well, I hate to say it to you, man, but it's because people like it. I wrestle with this all the time, and I've come to just have to think it's it's 2019, and you remember how when you were a kid and your parents liked stuff, and you were like, why do parents like this shit? That's dumb. And how come my parents don't understand my shit? My shit's the cool shit, and they don't get it. I feel like we're just getting old, and part of this has to deal with that. I see this all the time. When I'm on Twitter and I see Brian Michael Bendis tweet out something, and then millions of people, not millions, it's obviously hyperbolic, but tons of people are like, oh my God, that was the great issue number 7 of Superman changed my life. And I'm just like, what? But the fandom is there, at some point, as much as I think people are wrong, I stand by my decision, my opinion that Bendis is fucking up Superman, not just in his character, but also writing just objectively bad books. But people like it. People like this certain thing that is out there that I feel is trash.
If you think he is fucking up his character, ooh boy, wait until you read number 8. Shameless plug, go watch that video after this stream. So yeah, I
way to build up my my feelings toward as I've already have enough anxiety reading these books, going, oh my God, I'm gonna hate this.
Eric Brain says something that I totally agree with. Nightfall was as good as Nightfall was. No Man's Land blows it away. Yes, sir.
Yeah,
I agree.
You had posted a little while back. We were having a conversation. You had posted in Twitter or something to me a photo of that, and I didn't respond. And then you ended up going to bed, and I never got to ask you. You had posted a picture of No Man's Land, and so I guess now is a good time to ask you what were you trying to tell me about No Man's Land at that time?
Oh, it was when we were arguing about Neil Adams and shit.
Yeah, and what were you trying to say about No Man's Land?
Well, I was just saying that the impact of Neil Adams, that Batman's costume design went from the late 60s all the way into the late 90s. And that was kind of the last time they used the oval bat was in No Man's Land.
So you weren't trying to suggest I read No Man's Land?
No, everyone should read No Man's Land.
Oh, okay.
So, and since, you are a big Chris Nolan fan and you love that god-awful trilogy.
Oh, I fucking love it. Everyone loves it. They just don't want to admit it.
Dark Knight Rises pulls a lot from No Man's Land.
Cool. All right.
Which it's something goes down and everyone's stuck in the city, and there's a first survival of the fittest.
Cool. I mean, if it's a good story, that's what I'm looking for.
And they're doing it in Gotham season 5, and I'm like, man, current media Batman just really loves No Man's Land.
Or current media Batman is just out of ideas, and the fact that they're putting Bane in a story that doesn't have Batman is the most ridiculous idea ever.
So,
That's so
have
stupid.
you played the Arkham games?
I played Arkham City Origins or whatever the first one was, and I couldn't get into it.
Okay, well, you've seen it in Dark Knight Rises. Yeah, Rises. Right, you've seen it in Dark Knight Rises. There's a map, a Gotham map that they've been using since No Man's Land. That was Chuck Dixon had the idea. It's like, well, if we're gonna tell a story about a gang war within the confines of the city, well, we're gonna need a map. And so they hired a guy. I don't know what it's called. They hired a guy who makes maps for a living. In does like the cities and stuff. So if San Diego need an update on their streets, they would hire this map guy.
Looks like they hired a map maker.
Yeah, so they hired a map maker to come up with Gotham.
This is a long-winded way to say they hired a map maker.
Yeah, so it's as much as I was going on about how I hate maps earlier, it worked in Gotham.
Of course, all the goofiness, as long as it's in Batman, it's not goofy any longer.
Well, yeah, you just put a guy in some tights with the cape and cowl with the belt.
If some dude in a fantasy story had some weapon called a batarang, it'd be stupid. But when Batman uses it, it's fucking cool.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right.
Looks like Jason Black is here. It says modern comics read like they were written by people who don't read. When was the last time you heard a character quote by Shakespeare or Greek tragedy? Yeah, that's a good point. These writers don't even read classic comics they're working with. No, they kind of grew up watching 90s cartoons like X-Men and Batman the Animated Series. And so they kind of just base everything off of that.
All right, real quick here on Batman No Man's Land. So I went to ComiXology and I did a search for Batman No Man's Land, and they have a story arc. So I clicked on the story arc Batman No Man's Land, and it should be streaming. You should see my desktop.
Yeah, it's delayed.
Oh my goodness. I see it. So on my desktop.
Okay, I see it now.
You see it? Man, you're really delayed. Why? I'm trying to get him my fucking Apple. All right, so I'm looking here on ComiXology, and it starts off Batman No Man's Land #1, then goes to Batman Shadow of the Bat #83, then Batman issue 563, then Detective Comics #730, then Azrael Agent of the Bat #50. Then #51, then Batman Legends of the Dark Knight #116, then back to Shadow of the Bat #84, yada yada yada. Look at how many books this crosses over, and this hasn't even gotten until later in the series. It adds in the Batman Chronicles #16. Then a little bit later, it adds in Young Justice #1. Then Robin 67. Then later, Batman Harley Quinn #1, Nightwing 35.
Good issue. That's a really good issue.
So, now Catwoman is 72, 73, 74. Like, so this is intimidating to me.
And okay,
like,
so if
so many books are involved, it makes me really apprehensive about how good can this be, or am I looking at this wrong?
It's all under the reign of Denny O'Neil, I believe. Let me double check.
So, Eric, while you're double checking, Eric, if you're listening, like, what am I seeing wrong here? Why? because I look at this and go, that's too many book crossovers. Like, I don't want to. First of all, I can't see that many writers telling that cohesive of a story. Am I missing something? Do I just avoid certain books and read core books? What am I supposed to do here? Because that's 3 pages of books. That's just a lot of nonsense.
I can tell you that if you look at the graphic novels, because you're looking at it. Well, that was awesome. I just found $200.
Shit.
I just cracked open No Man's Land #1 and I had $200 in it.
Oh wow.
Good on you, Bats. Good on you. Yeah, that's so funny. Like, that happens to me so randomly because I'll hide money in my graphic novels. And I'll just and yeah, well, you heard it here.
All right. So now I'm searching by Batman No Man's Land by series, and then they have collected editions.
Okay, yeah, so it says right here, Group Editor Original Series, Denny O'Neil. And then it says...
Oh, yeah, the group editor is going to edit a group of books. I mean, that makes sense.
So this was all I mean, yeah, I would recommend... I mean, it's not on ComiXology. Man, that's so awesome. I found $200.
It is on ComiXology. They have...
It's not unlimited, though.
No. But now, Eric says No Man's Land is available in 7 trades, but I'm seeing it in 4 trades.
So, yeah, what they had originally done, Eric has it the way I have it, is the first print of the graphic novels from 2000. It's broken down into 5 volumes with Cataclysm, The Road to No Man's Land, and then the whatever the last one's called, once they fix Gotham. So yeah, it's broken down into 7, but the one that you have on screen now is kind of the way they did, I'm talking about with the Nightfall. This is the more confined. Essentially, it's just the 4 volumes are squeezed together or the 7 volumes are squeezed together into 4. So it's just a thicker book for a smaller price.
Well, yeah, these are thick books. This first volume is 417 pages. Covers Detective Comics 722, 724 through 26, Batman 5, blah, 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 blah. But yeah, it's 4 volumes.
The one that's called... I would recommend, just if you want to try it.
Oh my goodness. Now there's a new edition. Batman No Man's Land #1 new edition, which has 539 pages. I guess I didn't collect enough. This one adds in Batman No Man's Land #1. Why wouldn't you have added that before? Oh my goodness. See, this is a reason why I don't go back and read stuff like this, because even though I have good people telling me oh, this is great, I look at it and go, this is just convoluted. It's too much.
Well, you could, if you just chose to, you could go seek out the Greg Rucka novelization of it.
No, I read comics for comics. I don't understand these novel
I don't either. Yeah, I just said that, but it's fun.
I've seen these. DC's really pushing these, actually.
Yeah, they're in the ads.
I see all these all the time. Get this book, and I'm like,
no,
it's a comic. I don't. What? I'm not against novels. Don't get me wrong. They've got their place. But I read comics because I'm looking for something that's not a novel. silly.
Yeah, if graphic novel, this is why people always say this, like, oh, it's a graphic novel. I'm like, no, it's a trade paperback. No, same thing. No, it's totally different. Because by their definition, when someone compares, like, you know, the volume 1 of No Man's Land, and that is a graphic novel, does that make the floppies graphic chapters?
Yeah, a floppy can definitely. In
But
fact,
no one's ever been like, oh yeah, I'm going to the graphic chapter store.
no, no, but a graphic novel is just a term for something that's written in like a comic book format, but in a longer form, right? You don't call short stories, short stories are short stories. They're not chapters. They're
Or
short stories.
novella.
Yeah, a novel is a long form story. A novella is something that came after novel to be like, oh, it's a short novel, whatever. Graphic novel is just a long form comic, and trades are basically collections of floppies, collections of comics.
No, yeah, that's what I tell people, but people.
But a trade can be a graphic novel
That's-
because you can take a graphic novel and you can split it up into floppies and then recollect it back into a trade. Do you know what I'm saying? It's
No, yeah. I just want to be an elitist weirdo.
Trade paperback and graphic novel are kind of synonymous. Unless like a trade paperback is collecting just random stories that aren't connected, then it's really is, it's a trade paperback anthology. But I'm gonna get off this Batman No Man's Land. I'm gonna put this in my mental note for something to check out. I have way too many comics right now, and those are expensive. Even discounted, they're like $16 a piece. So, but it's something I'll keep on, especially if it does end up going on the ComiXology Unlimited. That's a big ass read. I mean, that looks like it's kind of equivalent to Nightfall as far as volume of.
Yeah.
So that is a huge time investment, and I have so many other things I'm piled under. Let's see. Get off my screen sharing. Oh, you know what? Since I have the screen sharing up, Bats, have you seen? Lack of a segue here. Have you seen that they did with the Star Wars?
Yeah.
Have you guys in chat? Have you seen this thing that they did? Star Wars. They've got this Galaxy of Adventures thing that they got going on. Let's see if I got. And Galaxy of Adventures is like these little. It's called Star Wars Kids, and they're these little animated shorts that they do in the Star Wars universe, and it looks like most of them are actually like scenes from the movies, like redone. And the one that's kind of like making a lot of controversy right now is this first one called Princess Leia Rescue. And I'm going to play it without any sound at the risk of violating some sort of copyright infringement here. And I'll rewind this a little bit here in full screen. And I want you to notice like how this plays out. Luke shows up. Oh, sorry, go ahead, play. I'm going to comment on the delay. Maybe that'll... So here we see Luke shows up. Watch Princess Leia's face. And they use the audio from the actual movies, but they redo the scenes. And here we'll see, watch Luke sticking his tongue out like a fucking doofus. Princess Leia getting pissed off. You motherfuckers, you couldn't save a shit. Now Luke's getting tangled up in his cords, and she's looking at him like, you idiot, I gotta save us. And they just show her kicking ass, taking names, and Han and Luke are just beta male cucks that couldn't get shit done.
She looks like a crazy person when she like when she does that breathing thing,
Yeah. And look at her.
and then she chucks them all in the trap chute.
She's just like yelling at him. Look how she just yells. Like they just turned her into this feminist bitch. I'm like, what the literal fuck?
In our chat, I had sent you a picture. If you want to pop that up on screen for me.
All right, let me. Where was that? Oh. Well, list.
There it is.
Ah. Here we go. Yeah. Now this kind of tells the story a little bit like the pendulum too far the other way. But if you go back and you watch, or if you don't remember clearly like what happened in these real scenes, like they were like a team, like
yeah.
Luke had his little grappling hook out. She's holding the gun to cover him. He whips it out, swings it across the chasm, grabs her. She kisses him on the cheek, says good luck, and they swing across. Like it's all great. In this animated thing, she's like, you fucking pathetic boy. You're just a man. I can't believe I'm being saved by a white man. Like, I just feel like that. I'm just like, what is going on? See if I can
Speaking of feminists, I just want to give a shout out to the girl, Renfamous. Say happy birthday.
Happy birthday, Renfamous, if you're watching. Hope you had a great birthday.
She did. She was bitching about Ethan.
Look at this picture here.
His face is like, this lady is crazy. Have you seen the one where she's slapping Luke and it's like making the rounds?
Oh yeah, the tweet says the still. Look at this face though of like Han and Chewie here, just being like, this is the face of every Star Wars fan.
Right?
What am I watching?
I actually showed it to my roommate today, and I said, "Hey man, you got to see this." And he's like, "Oh, turn it off. I can't take this." And I was like, "You remember the movie, right?" And he's like, I'm so tired. Why do they gotta? Why is this happening everywhere? Stop showing me this stuff. That's what it was my friend's reaction.
Look at this. This is where you said she looks crazy.
She looks like a crazy cat lady right there.
Yeah, this is crazy. This is like Brie Larson's got nothing on Princess Leia. Oh my god, what the
way to shine the, honor the legacy of Carrie Fisher.
Yeah, and see, here's the thing. The reason I kind of wanted to show this, I'm a huge.
If Carrie was alive, she would be like, no, like. I feel like she would have something to say about this if she was alive.
Yeah, I have a feeling too. Let me just look at Luke's face here. He's just like, like, what the? I had to say something about this because I'm a massive, massive Star Wars fan, and I don't really bring it up too much in our show or anything, or even in my channel, because I'm one of the few people who actually enjoys the Disney Star Wars stuff, and it's really, really popular to hate on it, and I just don't really want to go down that rabbit hole. I'm inviting all sorts of people to be, every time, if I even tweet about it, like make a comment about it, I just get tons of, you liked Last Jedi, oh my god, it's just like, oh Jesus, and we've had talks off camera before, so my position where I'll defend it all day long. If someone brings it up, I'm happy to talk about it. I just don't really want to bring it up. But see, my opinion about Last Jedi and all the Disney films is that this is not Lucas Disney, like Star Wars anymore. I knew going in that once Disney bought Star Wars, we were going to get a whole new Star Wars. It would be, something different. So I'm accepting of this. This is original Star Wars. This is now doing what Marvel did. This is I have a problem with. I don't have a problem Disney making new movies that don't go along with the way. I mean, it disappoints me as a fan, but it's new stuff. This is treading on old ground. This is the equivalent of like what I have a problem like in Comicsgate, where Marvel saying, "Oh yeah, no, Captain America's actually a Nazi. No, Thor's actually a woman. You know, no, Scott Summers actually a Nazi, and we got to replace all these white males in comics." I have a problem with that, right? If you want to go out and make new comics, hey, we're gonna make this new comic called Jane Foster. You know, okay, go do it. Have fun. I don't get outraged when I see like Goddess Mode, right? Because Goddess Mode is something new. It's not. I get outraged when I see Bendis doing Superman because that's not Superman. Like, don't change what's already there. And this is now where I draw the line. Where I've defended Disney, I defend Last Jedi. I can't defend this because this is not Star Wars. Lucas told this story. We know who Luke is. We know who Leia is. And we especially know what they were in this scene. And Disney would change this and turn Leia into this fucking psycho beast, feminist. Literally, she's a feminazi here. Look at this.
Yeah.
You know?
And, you know, one could argue, saying, well, this isn't for you, this is for kids. Well, okay, well, this, to me, why not just show the kids the movie?
Well, exactly. Anyone that argues that to me, I say, I saw Star Wars in theaters when I was 3 years old. It's the very first memory of a movie I have in my entire life. I can literally remember scenes, like vaguely. I remember real vague things.
Yeah.
But it made such an impact on me, even at 3 years old, that I can remember. Star Wars is a huge thing in me. And then, of course, I grew up with Star Wars. I saw it, you know, Empire Strikes Back. I remember seeing it with my grandpa, taking me to see it and standing in the long line around the building to go see Empire Strikes Back. And then I remember seeing Return of the Jedi and begging my mom to take me to see it and having to wait 2 weeks because she didn't care, right? And I'm like, take me. Finally going to see it. And, you know, like, vivid memories. I was 3, 5, and 7 years old during those movies. Then later on when they came out on HBO, because, you know, back then we didn't have videotapes and DVDs and Blu-rays and Netflix. So it was like HBO. Oh my God, I can see Star Wars, and I would spend all summer just watching Star Wars over and over and over and over and over and over and over again. I was like 10 years old or something, right? Star Wars is for kids. This idea that you need to make a cartoon, so we can kidify it. No, this is bullshit. This is proselytization of left-wing feminist politics to push it down to indoctrinate children to follow this ideology, and I'm pissed off.
Yeah, I think that Star Wars is like perfect for that like 6 to 9 demographic of kids.
What really also pisses me off too is that Star Wars is a right-wing libertarian story.
Right.
And this right here is an attempt to twist it into a left-wing propaganda. It's like it's so antithetical to what Star Wars is. I'm so mad. All right, sorry, I had to get that off my chest. Thank you, audience, for hearing me rant. What a fucking nonsense. Yeah, I remember Droids and Clone Wars. I haven't really liked any of the cartoon stuff that's Star Wars, but there's a difference between just doing a bad job and doing something that's outright offensively bad and is there to be political. This is exactly like what in film, this is the film equivalent of Comicsgate. We aren't just making bad cartoons now. We are turning these comics into political statements. We're now trying to brainwash your children into this gender politics.
You know, it's going to be a good cartoon.
Hey, Eric says it's 4 a.m. where he's at and he needs to crash. Dude, props to you. Peace out.
He's on
We
that
love
East
that you
Coast.
hung out with us this
Yeah,
long.
thanks for coming, Eric. Appreciate it.
We always enjoy you. You are a knowledge bank and a fun person to talk to. We're probably not going to last too much longer here, so have a good night.
Peace out, Eric.
All right, I'm going to move on from that. I had.
Hey, so speaking of cartoons, I'm excited for a cartoon coming out.
Which one?
The Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles meet Batman.
Oh my God, are you serious?
Yeah, I think this is gonna be okay. So DC has done 3 miniseries. They have done 2 that are mildly within respective characters' continuities, as well as it's not in there. If you're looking for that picture that I sent you,
Just keep going.
and so
Don't mind the man behind the curtain.
so they did the 2 Batman Ninja Turtles that are mildly in respective continuities, but they never reference it. They reference things that happen in their own continuities, but never, hey, remember that one time when we met walking, talking turtles who knew ninjutsu? Nah, never. But then they also did one that was the 2012 Ninja Turtles, which is my favorite Ninja Turtles cartoon, meets Batman the Animated Series Adventures. And I was like, oh, that is dope. My problem with these books is they came out monthly, and with most crossovers with different franchises, they're all kind of the same. And it's like, hey, the bad guy has this MacGuffin that opens a portal, and now we're trapped in your world, and we got to find the pieces to the MacGuffin so we can open the portal and go back home. It's pretty much every story that has the crossover between franchises. So in comics, I was like, these are great. And then by like issue 5, I'm like, okay, let's get through the portal already. Okay, see you guys. And then like 6 months later, they're like, here's the new one. Each time I was reading these miniseries, I was like, I wish they would just make a movie of this. And my wishes have been granted.
Is it a movie or a TV series?
It's going to be an animated film. So it's just going to be, I guess, a collaboration with Nickelodeon and Warner Brothers to make this, because they've been collaborating with IDW, Nickelodeon, Warner Brothers, DC, and in general. And those books do really well with normie people. They're like, I know a handful of people who saw like me post a picture of it on my Facebook, and they're like, is this a real thing? I'm like, yeah. And they're like, oh, I gotta read that. I'm like, you don't even read comics. I'm gonna read this one. Okay. So I think it's gonna, like, especially 90s kids, there it is. Especially 90s kids like myself, kids who are either born in the 90s or in the late 80s, they are going to see this. They're going to get,
Now, I thought
like,
this was you said it was a crossover with the Batman animated series. This doesn't look like the Batman.
No. I'm saying there was 3 miniseries in comics, and there was 2 that were vaguely in respective each other's continuity, and there was a Batman animated series meets the 2012 Nickelodeon Ninja Turtles.
Right. So like, here's the original crossover that I'm putting up right now. Batman versus Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
Yeah, that's the first one that you have your mouse on.
And then they did a second one.
The second one was the animated one.
Well, this one they have a 2 by.
Yeah, it's the sequel to the first one. But
And
when
then
you
they
look
did
at
this one, Whoop, this is the Adventures, but it doesn't have the. Maybe you're talking about this.
Yes, that's the Kevin Eastman cover. Yeah, the Adventures one is the second one published. Look how cool that is. Yeah. So each time I was reading these miniseries, I was like, man, I just wish this was like an actual like animated thing. And here we are. Now they're gonna make it an animated feature.
What about this picture?
Yeah, that's awesome.
And this is the picture you had in your head when you were young.
Of the Batman throwing, yeah, that one. Yeah, the delay.
You're like,
Sorry.
I wish they would do this.
No, see, I wanted the 89 or the 87 turtles.
All right, I can't picture that. I can't get that. That's the only picture they had.
So the 87, they did the Batman the Animated Series crosses over with the 2012 Ninja Turtles. I want to see a Batman 66 meets Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 87.
Dumb.
That would be amazing.
No. How about Frank Miller Batman, since he was 80s, meets Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, which is based off of Frank Miller?
No.
Yes.
It's too on the nose.
No, it's right. Perfect. Speaking of perfect, I got this picture right here.
Batman eating pizza?
Mikey, don't chew with your mouth open. Yes, sir. And it's got Alfred standing right here in the shadows.
Yeah. Yeah, they're entertaining comics.
Dude, I will watch the shit out of this.
Really?
Yeah. I don't care for the TMNT cartoons because they're generally dumb from what I've seen, but this is just a one-shot film, right? So
yeah.
90 minutes of turtles running with Batman. Hell yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Like, now if this was an ongoing cartoon, I'd probably would be like, no, I'm not interested. But the fact that you say it's like one film
Mm-hmm.
totally makes me interested. I'm like, oh, okay. I think Turtles works really well with Batman. In my mind, at least, it works really well. And that might have something to do with the fact that my vision of of Batman and Frank Miller and like the Turtles are a total homage to Frank Miller. So that might be why they work so well. But I think you could put, if DC like bought the Turtles, I think the Turtles would fit in the DC universe.
I don't.
Well,
I mean, they just don't belong there to me. They don't. At least for me.
Well, I think the type of character, like we were talking last night about Jim Lee's, Stormwatch stuff. And I was like, it's not compatible with DC. It's a different, like, I think Turtles, I don't know. I see Turtles running around with Batman. It doesn't look weird. But, that's being said, I could also kind of see Turtles. Well, I don't know if they would fit in Marvel or not. I don't know. I think maybe more DC.
Even though the canister from...
Yeah, I know, it's Daredevil. I know. And the foot are the hand, and yeah.
Stick is Splinter.
Yep. Oh, you don't have to tell this guy. I used to be a big...
Tehillium says, be careful what you wish for, Sergeant Batch. You could end up with woke turtles and Batman.
Oh.
I don't think the turtles, it doesn't work. I mean, the woke turtles we got is the current turtle series, and the turtle fandom is not having it. They are not having it.
Well, fortunately, the SJWs have not invaded the turtle fandom. It's not big enough.
Well, they have the current show that's running on Nickelodeon. It's pretty SJW.
Well, that's because that medium is SJW, not because turtles are. It's all cartoon animation. I like this cover here. This is my
It's
favorite.
pretty sweet.
It's like an homage to the original Batman animated.
A little side note, I have the Batman animated series where he's pulling his cape behind the red moon tattooed on me.
Oh, geez. That's pretty cool.
It goes from the Batman's ears kind of touch inside my elbow, and his cape droops all the way down to my wrist.
Wow. All right. We have been going on long on this one. This has been a long show. I'm gonna look at the chat. I haven't really actually given much attention to the chat. Comics Quirk says yes. Frank Miller. Shout out to my boy, Quirks. Quirks is the what would you call Quirks? Like he's like the, what is he?
Honorary member of the show.
Is he like our Robin? No. What is?
No, because you're my Robin.
Right. Oh my goodness. Goodness gravy. I'm your Robin.
You imagine an old man Robin?
Oh, please. I was about to say I'm so glad that DC's not doing that, and then I was like, oh no, they're doing it with Harley.
Well, they're just Harley's their book to troll Marvel, and it's like, but they're trolling Marvel for being SJW, and the book is SJW. It's like, it doesn't make any sense.
I don't think they're trolling Marvel. I think Marvel's trolling them with their own book. Like DC's trolling themselves. Like, oh, look at a joke we're playing on Marvel, and then it's just like, no, you're making fun of yourself, dipshits. You don't even realize what you're doing. Like, Harley Quinn is just such a joke. And the only reason why no one's like seeing it is because Harley Quinn is propped up by the fact that she's like the most popular character for non-comic readers, right? Like it's like all these people. It's like, I like to go to conventions and dress up. I don't actually read comics though, but I've heard about them, and I'm a huge fan, and so I dress up, and like that's the type of fan, the wannabe fan, or not even the wannabe, like the poser fan, that
fake geek.
The fake geek, right? It's fake geek girls, yeah. And so it props up this idea that Harley's this popular character, and so like DC's like, oh, we got to market to those people, and it's like, joke's on you, they're not buying comics. Bats is Batman, Ash is Superman, Quirks is Wonder non-binary woman. No, Quirks, you can't pick out yourself. And Wonder Woman's part of the Trinity. You're more like a sidekick. You're like, I don't know what it's like. I don't know what, like, there's like, I feel like on the tip of my tongue, there's an equivalent there. You're like Jimmy Olsen. Maybe.
Superman's pal.
Superman's pal, Jimmy Olsen. And I'm Clark, and Bats is Lois Lane.
Ew.
I knew you were going to go all right, Bats, you can be Jonathan.
No.
Come on, you can be new grown-up Bendis Jonathan. You like Bendis. You like what he's doing.
Well, you should go watch my review of Superman 8.
I need to actually read the book first.
Yeah, skip it. Skip it. Just watch my review. You'll get everything you need out of it.
Oh, it's not like anything happens in those books anyway. I just honestly, you of all people, since you're the person who always looks at the last page before you read the book, that's all you need to do with Bendis books is look at the last page, because everything else is just filler. And
pretty much.
And the last page is like, oh shit, you know. Oh my goodness. What are we doing, Bats? What are we doing?
I don't know, but now I want to look at the last page of something. I don't have any comics near me.
Jason says Comics Works could be Aqualad? Question mark. Yeah, I'm kind of down with that. You want to be? Do you think he's Aqualad?
Which one?
Oh Jesus!
Are we talking Tempest? Or
I don't even know. Comics Works,
or
by the way, mansplaining only happens to women. You can't mansplain other men.
you can't assume his gender, bro.
Oh, that's true. I apologize for assuming your gender.
He lives on a college campus.
Killer Croc would be a good enemy for TMNT. Yeah, I agree. I think all the Batman Rogues Gallery actually fits
Go read those books.
fits that. I could totally see like the turtles beating up on.
They already have a Killer Croc. His name's Leatherhead.
No, I don't. I only know Eastman and Laird TMNT, and none of this later shit.
That is okay. Whatever.
What? I don't remember
It's
Leatherhead.
Leatherhead, man.
Oh, well, it was like 40 years ago. Something stupid.
So yeah,
You two need to get a Discord server where the others could join and talk to you both. Oh, what do you think about that idea?
I mean, we could just, if we wanted to, we could just send them the link.
That's true, but this is the Ash and Bat show, and it's already, we can't even control our own show, just me and you.
Right?
We do sometimes, like when we do like our live, I do like a nonsense stream occasionally where we just like, hey, let's just do a stream. We have like no topic and it's just junk. And then I delete it. Like it doesn't say up on the server. We'll invite people into those. But I like the idea of a Discord room because those are always open, if I understand. I've never done a Discord room. So.
You guys are talking computer, and I don't understand either.
So Discord is an online service, and it's basically just lets you do voice chat like in a group. You know, and you can just talk. It's just
like a party line.
Kind of, yeah, but online, and you can chat. You can type chat and stuff. And you can set up servers for all sorts of different things. And a lot of people, it started off for like video gaming, right? So people could like meet up and like, oh, we're playing games. Like, oh, get on a Discord and talk to each other while you're gaming. But now people use it for everything. Like, oh, you can just have a group. So I think it's a good idea. I just don't really know how to do it. So, Tehalim, send me some information on what I need to do to get up a Discord server. Because Bats is just confused right now.
Mm-hmm.
His eyes are like twirling. Like if you see like in the cartoons where like the eyes go all spirally and like woo 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 woo, like that's what he's just sitting right now in the corner, like, oh, I don't know what you're talking about. So, anything else in the chat that I missed? I don't see anything.
Helium says I could be America Chavez.
Oh, that's a low blow.
Whatever, you know. I get to go back in time and punch Hitler because I can do it better than the white man did.
So fucking dumb. Oh my goodness. No. Bats has got to be a DC character.
I'll be Jeff Johns.
That's not a DC character.
Technically he is.
Jeff Johns is a DC character?
Yeah. So this has been so DC's been doing this since the Julie Schwartz days. Have you ever heard of the character Superboy Prime?
Yes.
So do you know who he is?
Vaguely.
So Superboy Prime is a DC fanboy who gets sucked into the DC universe. and he gets Superman powers. So he's from our Earth. And so when he gets sucked into the DC universe, he's fully aware of who Jeff Johns is.
Oh my god.
So like
As if
it's
they couldn't make Superboy more stupid.
well, he's not Superboy.
Is his name Superboy?
Yes.
And then he's Superboy. Wow. Why
Well,
hasn't Bendis brought this character back?
Oh, please, I hope he does not. I can't believe I found $200. so I just saw it again. That's awesome.
That's amazing. Ash is what? Tomasi, Bats, Williamson, me, Bendis. I choose myself because I love and I'm still only advocate for Bendis. Okay, that's it. Quirks is Harley Quinn. And Bendis is Joker. And they just have a fucking sicko relationship. You love Bendis because you don't know any better. You're under his spell. And one day, we're going to catch you from that net. And we're going to be the net. And you're going to be the falling Grayson. We're going to catch you. Everyone be really nice to Quirks. Because when he gets the burn, it's going to be hard. Because he loves Bendis right now. So that burn is going to be very tough for him to deal with. So we don't want to be like pointing fingers and say we got to be there for him, and don't make him feel ashamed. All right, Bats. Do you have anything else we're going to add? This show's kind of petering out like with a one.
I think that's it.
Yeah, I think that's it too.
We covered everything we needed to cover.
I don't see anyone in the chat giving us anything. So, anyway, Jason Black says, "All right, I have a quest. I'm thinking of drawing Batman for my 5-year-old nephew tonight. You guys are fans. Bring up your favorite Batman image." That's tough.
My favorite. Okay, I have to find it.
All right, I have my favorite Batman image. One of my favorite Batman images, at least, for sure, and it's my desktop right now. And I was gonna troll my boy Bats here with it, but this actually fits the topic, so I'll let you see. This is my desktop. This is one of my favorite all-time Batman images.
Batman cover 251.
Did you see my choice there, Bats?
I did, yes.
You're just biting your tongue.
No, whatever. It's a famous image.
That's one of my favorite ones. What Batman image did you say, Bats? 251?
Yes, sir.
And it's Batman, right?
Mm-hmm. It's the cover, Batman number 2.
I'm clarifying because there's been like a million Batman titles, so I want to make sure I get the right Batman title. And not like Legends of the Dark Knight or Detective.
No, yeah.
With a Joker on it?
Mm-hmm.
This is one of your favorites, huh?
Mm-hmm.
And it doesn't hardly even have Batman on it.
But it's one of my favorite Batman images.
A weird choice. All right.
I just really like that cover.
Okay, that's a neat cover. Do you think it's a good inspiration to draw for a 5-year-old though?
Or actually, what is that? I got it. I got one.
I have to say also, I know it's super it feels like it's super normie and cliche to say, but the cover of the Dark Knight Returns #1, that iconic Batman leaping through lightning cover, is truly one of my favorite Batman images as well. And I know that's just sort of like, oh, like everyone would say that, but even the Mazzucchelli Batman Year One. Look at this, is sitting right here. I love this. This cover. I love this image of Batman. This to me is it's so like old school, classic, kind of like Shadow. You know, the Shadow.
Yeah.
It has that old timiness feel, but it's Batman. And it's just iconic. I love that.
Oh, darn it. My computer wants to be a weirdo right now.
Comics Quirk says, ha ha ha, Frank Miller is a great writer. Horrible jar. Ha 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 ha. Joke's on you, Comics Quirks. Frank Miller made his name as an artist first.
So Batman 465 is my alternative pick.
465. Frank Miller came on the scene and made Daredevil hot just from his art. He was one of the hottest artists of his day. He later,
I don't think he's that good looking.
He later adopted this really muddy style of drawing that he's kind of known for from Sin City, and kind of has stayed that way since. That a lot of people find like unappealing. It's not pretty. And be that as it may, you don't have to like it. But he is still one of the best artists in comics ever. It's one of the all-time greats. 465. Here it is. I'm staring right at it. Batman with Robin. What's Batman with Robin? Why isn't it Batman and Robin?
Because he's with him.
This is so stupid. I've never seen that before. Batman with Robin.
I don't really ever agree with anything Tom King says on Twitter. But when Norm Brayfogle died, he's the artist here. He says when he thinks of Batman, this is one of the images that comes to mind.
Yeah, this is an iconic image.
It's the homage to Batman #9.
I am going to be honest with you, Bats, and you're probably going to roll your eyes back into your head and have a seizure. I cannot stand the blue and the gray Batman suit.
I'm sorry, I couldn't see for a second. my eyes rolled so hard I found that Luke Skywalker toy I lost in 4th grade.
I can't stand it. Yeah, I feel like the blue evolved from just the 4-color process, and like you can't really do black in 4-color, so you have to always like tint it with blue. So no matter what you do, if it's black, there's always blue in it.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like it evolved to where people, like, over time, instead of being like, oh, it's black, it's like, no, it's actually blue. And then the blue got more blue and more blue and more blue until we got to this point. I may be wrong, but I feel like that's what this came from. And I was like, it just doesn't feel like right. Like, Batman is supposed to be scary. And
I don't know. I mean,
like, pale blue, like Detroit Lions blue here, just is not scary to me. It's goofy. It works for the Batman 66.
Well, it's good imagery to contrast against the character who's red.
Well, that's true. That's true.
And I mean, if you look at this image on screen, we got a red character, a blue character against a yellow background. That's the 3 primary colors.
Yeah, and I don't necessarily hate the color scheme. I just hate it for Batman. And it probably has to do with the fact of my image of Batman, and I like to view Batman as like, I dress up like this to scare the shit out of everybody, you know, like, okay, cool. Like, but then why are you wearing this fucking baby blue thing? Like, make it black and scary. You know, like
love this old head trade dress here with the character standing there in it. Looks great.
Oh yeah, that old school style trade dress.
I wish we would bring that back instead of just having like DC Universe and a shitty like logo. Like just throw a character on there. Like you remember like the Hulk comics, it would be like Bruce Banner, and then he'd be like ripping his shirt open or something, and then if you collected the whole series, it like it animated.
Yeah. Nostalgia wise, I'm okay. I like this, but I do like the minimalist trade dress, like just like having the DC logo and then the number. I actually like sorry, that's not the trade dress. The logo and the number I like to be very minimalistic, and I like the trade dress to be more pronounced. Like I feel like the book should be Batman with Rob. Like that's what you focus on. The DC 465 should be more in the background. It's not as important. But I'm weird. Like I don't even like artist names on the covers. I wish we could get rid of that.
Yeah, me and you are totally on different sides on that.
You have the credits in the book. I want
No,
the
but
art.
like
I don't
but
want
a
your
lot of
name on the.
but sometimes you see the name, like you wouldn't know someone is like sometimes I see like a comic book and it says, it just says more on it, and I'm like, no way. And I like have to look at it. I'm like, yeah, of course this isn't written by Alan Moore. But there's some names that like really stand out, like Williamson, Capullo, Snyder, like things like that. They stand out. So, say, I see a book and I was like, this looks kind of neat, based on the cover. And then I pick it up and it says Bun. And I'm like, oh, okay, never mind. I just put it back. So it's good. It's there to sell you or unsell you a book.
Yeah, I mean, I get the reasons for it. At the very least, just make it the artist and the writer. I hate when they like throw colorists and inkers, and no one is going, oh, whoa, so and so colored this book. I'm on it. Like it's just not happening.
I appreciate the colors though.
I'm not buying this book. I can't believe it's inked by so and so. Like no one's doing that. And I appreciate certain colorists too. Like back in the day, Joe Rosa or Rosas, I can't remember, was like the colorer. He was doing magic with 4-color newsprint with Jim Lee and X-Men and stuff like that. And I was like, oh yeah, this guy's the best. Like, but I wasn't like, oh, he's not coloring. I'm not buying this.
Speaking of Jim Lee, when it's not Scott Williams, I'm like, oh. Yeah. Because Scott Williams makes Jim Lee better.
Well, yes and no. I mean, Scott Williams, first of all, is a super terrific inker. Scott Williams also like knows Jim Lee's art so well that Jim Lee can just sort of like scribble something and like Williams can fill it out. Yeah. So like Scott Williams is almost like Jim Lee's ghost penciler. It's just, if he gets anyone else to ink it, he's like actually got to do work.
Yeah, there's also like Andy Parks and Phil Hester. Phil Hester is like an amazing like penciler. He kind of has that Matt Wagner, Bruce Timm, Darwin Cook style, that like neo retro style. And if it's not Andy Parks, it doesn't look good to me. Like, but he's the inker, so you don't ever really remember him. So much that my buddy was going to a convention recently, and he's like, Andy Parks is on the list. Why do I know that name? I'm like, he inks Phil Hester. And he's like, oh, I love Andy Parks. Well, not that much if you don't remember his name. But
hey, Bats, remember how you were telling me like this is my first Batman series
so
and
it,
stuff? So like
yeah.
we look on the screen here. I bought all these back in the day. I used to be a Batman
Oh,
Legends of the Dark Knight collector.
you see the one, the Gothic one,
Uh-huh.
the Grant Morrison one? Those are literally been sitting on my shelf for about, I don't know, a year and a half in my reading stack, and I still haven't read them. I keep them in there, but for some reason I just don't get to it. And I was the other day I was like, oh, I'm gonna finally read these freaking Grant Morrison.
I
But
remember when this
that Matt Wagner Faces story is great.
I remember yeah, Matt Wagner. I used to be a Matt Wagner junkie. Um I remember when this was coming out, I thought this was so ingenious how they like had the storylines. Like this was the original book written for the trade, right? You know, like each of these Legends of the Dark Knight things were arcs, and they had like the title of the arc like on the cover, so you could like totally dip in and out of these at leisure. You
Yep.
could be like, oh, this Venom storyline looks amazing, and then you'd be like, Faith, that looks stupid, I'm out. And
Yeah.
like they just did a really great job. I kind of wish comics would
I
do that.
I want a Batman book like this again. Your small three issue uh little mini arcs. We had one called Batman Confidential that kind of filled this void of the Legends of the Dark Knight a few years back before New 52. But since then, all we've had is Detective and Batman. And then in New 52, they gave us it was Dark Knight, Batman and Robin, Batman and Detective, and respectively, Dark Knight went first, then Batman and Robin went, and then we just had Batman and Detective.
I don't remember how many of these I bought, but I know I was buying this series. Good stuff. Well,
That's not on Unlimited.
no.
Darn it.
Although the first issue is free.
Well, yeah, everyone has that first issue. They printed 900 different covers with. Did you get the pink cover, the blue cover, the green cover, the yellow cover?
No, I don't think this is back old enough to where they didn't make that many covers.
Oh no, see, okay, yeah, so there's another one that's it's this series, but there's a variant. There's like 900 variants of just a Batman silhouette with a different colored background behind it.
Oh yeah, I think I remember that. You're like,
And I have
really? It's just the color of the background.
and it's not even an image. It's a silhouette of a freaking Batman. So it's just like a rectangular shape becoming a triangle and then a bat head. It's it's silly. But yeah, I think this is the end of the show here because we've dragged it on.
Yeah. Real quick, Jason says he hates guest covers, false advertising.
Yes, I'm right there with you.
Now, do you hate the guest covers when they're alt covers though? Because I feel like if the A cover is giving you the truth, so to speak, but the B cover is just like an artist cover, like I don't necessarily have a problem with that because it's just like an alternate cover.
No, I think what he's saying is like when it's the A cover is an entirely different artist, and you're like, if it's Alex Ross, you're pretty certain it's not going to be the interiors, but kind of like that. It's like in covers by Alex Ross. It's like, well, okay.
So, Comics Quirk says, look up Batman number 6, New 52, and I won't be upset. Well, Mr. Quirks, in my library, I have Batman. You'll see here. I have the entire New 52 Batman. And number 6. Here we go.
Oh.
That's pretty cool. That's like you, Bats.
Yeah, I don't care for this cover. I know a lot of people like it.
You don't like it?
It's
You blasphemer. Now you're going to say you don't like Greg Capullo.
no,
It's
like everyone loves this cover so much. I know someone who got that tattooed. So,
I don't love it that much.
Me personally, I actually like was it number 8? I think that's a cooler cover. I think issue 2 is a cooler cover. 3 is a cool cover.
I like this cover. Something about a burning Batman, like effigy, just goes cool. There's a lot, man. Greg Capullo is one of my favorite all-time Batman artists.
Yeah.
I'm just scrolling through all these.
He's definitely one of those artists where it's like, if you say, 20 years ago you were rereading Spawn and you're like, man, it'd be really good if Greg Capullo did Batman.
Do you think this is the Joker that they based the DCEU Joker off of?
I don't think that they based it off anything.
Okay. I just look at this Joker and I feel like the DCEU Joker kind of feels. And then, yeah, all these are great covers, man. Greg Capullo is just fucking badass.
Have you read this entire run?
No.
Oh, okay.
I stopped because I was trying to catch up with. And this is the best cover because it's Sean Murphy. It's like a scribble. This is Sean Murphy. He's like, oh, I just fucking scribbled this on a napkin. Here you go, DC. And it's still amazing.
Yeah, a lot of people who read this series say, oh, the Court of Owls is the best one. And then they dislike each story arc less than the last one. But I personally, I wouldn't say it gets better each story, but each story to me is like equally as interesting. Like a lot of people didn't like the Gordon Bat that you're on right now, and I really like that stuff. I thought it was really cool. I forget what the storyline's called.
You're like hit or miss. I can't. I'm still trying to get a gauge on you to predict what you like and dislike. Like I'll be like, oh, for sure, Bats will like this, and you'll be like, no, that was stupid. And I'm like, oh, okay. He doesn't like it when they like change this up, and then I'll be like, oh yeah, Bats, you'll fucking hate this. You'll be like, no, I actually really like that. I'm like, what? How do you like it? It's totally. They twisted everything that you love about the character. No, it was cool. Like I'm like, what? I don't get you.
I don't get me.
Well, okay.
So I'm just here for the ride. I'm like, oh, okay. Well, I guess I like this.
All right. Well, I'm trying to just understand you and like, because the minute I think I do, I'm like, nope, I don't. So Jason answers, all covers are fine. I just hated walking to LCS and seeing the regular artist or an artist I like on the front. Picked it up and the books are badly drawn amateur crap. Yes. Okay, I kind of know what he's saying. Like, so you get like, oh, Greg Capullo did the cover on this, badass, and you open it up and it's like just trash art, and you're like, what? and they just hire someone else to do an awesome cover. In fact, a lot of the great artists today don't even draw regular books. Like they just do covers, like because they can't afford. And Marvel's really bad at this because Marvel just can't afford to pay for quality, so they put their money on their covers. And you'll see like a lot of their books have really nice covers, and then you open inside and you're just like, what the hell is this? DC's less guilty of this. They often will put the same cover artist as in the book, except for their like art covers. They're a little bit better, but then again, they got the best artists pretty much working for them. So,
and writers,
yeah. But I mean, writing, you don't need to. You can't really like do that with writers. So, yeah, but I mean, be prepared. Speaking of this, Marvel is doing this with their new, what's that? War of the Realm. Have you heard about this thing they're doing, Bats?
I don't care. I mean, tell me about it. But
well, I mean, I know you're not a Marvel
person.
person.
As a customer, I'm like so far from interested.
So Marvel's got this War of the Realms, their big crossover event for this summer, and it's my boy Wes at Thinking Critical did a video on this, and it's really worth watching. Even if you're not a Marvel fan or whatever, he does his research and he exposes the scam that Marvel is pulling.
I saw that. I saw he posted that video, and I was like, just hadn't got around to it.
Oh man, you watch it. It is so like eye-opening, and he like shows you the numbers and like the number of variant covers and the number of like new number ones, and he compares it between this year, last year, and I think 2011 or some number in like a few years prior to like show you what Marvel's doing. And they have, you thought 2018 was the year of number ones. They are doubling down on 2019, like the amount of number one comics that they're producing and the number of variants. They're doubling down on how many total, and he also shows it side by side with DC and how much DC is doing and how DC is actually paring down their numbers where Marvel's like increasing to exploit their fan base. Oh my god! But anyways, the reason I thought about this is because the art covers. Well, probably my favorite artist of all time is Arthur Adams. I absolutely love Art Adams. He almost never draws a full comic. He's really slow, beautiful artist. He's doing all the covers for the War of the Realms, and I'm like, oh my god, it's gonna be gorgeous. But just you wait, you'll open these books and they'll be just bleh. And Comics Quirks is just getting all excited, and he's loving this. He's Jason Aaron. It's gonna be his magnum opus. Wish I could make the cricket sound. All right, guys, we're going to wrap that up. Thank you guys so much for watching. We got 3-hour mark. We're so bad at this, Bats. Hey, Melissa says, hey, we're out of here, Melissa. Sorry you missed us.
See you, Melissa.
Tell Halim, if you're still here, hit us up with the, you know what we told you to hit us up with, Discord server. You guys were all fantastic. Bats, any final words?
Go read No Man's Land.
Go read, and also don't forget the book for the week is going to be, say the book again.
Flash Blitz. It's the Flash. The storyline is called Blitz.
197 through 200.
Yes, sir.
All right, that's going to be our book for the week. We'll come back next time. Same Bats channel. Wait, no, I did it wrong again.
Every
Damn
time.
it. Same Bats time.
Same Ash channel.
All right. Thanks, guys. Good night.
Peace.